show it on television a handful of times. You saw top-notch basketball with two teams scoring a lot of points in regulation. What was the final score? 80-something to
92-85.
92-85. So you had a lot of points scored in that game. I guarantee you that game hit the over because there's no way that they had it scored that high. But, you saw two really good teams go on streaks throughout the game. Now,
sure.
You didn't just see two teams trading shots the entire time. You saw Wofford get out to that hot start, and then Furman came charging back. And then Furman took a little bit of a lead. And then Wofford came charging back. And then Wofford started playing really bad on offense, giving up a lot of turnovers. And Furman came charging back. And then the whole thing culminated with Wofford just being lights out from the free throw line. Plus, you got the storyline of the Wofford center who was shooting his free throws Rick Barry style, which I guarantee you was all over social media. It was all over the Sports Center this morning. I guarantee that because they love players that just do things a little bit differently. Yeah, Kyler Felowich.
Did you see Dave Portnoy tweeted out last night?
No, I didn't.
He had a video of it, of him shooting an underhanded free throw, Diesel, and he called Wofford. W.
Well, I mean, they are the Terriers. They woof. I get it. It makes sense.
But, no, it was a great game. It was a great game. And thanks to Ingles Markets for having us up there yesterday. Jackson Silvis was phenomenal down the stretch. You mentioned it. Back and forth, Diesel. Number one, before we're joined by Coach Anderson here in a couple of minutes, number one, the atmosphere was impeccable. Hats off to Wofford fans, Diesel. Hats off to Furman fans as well. It was one of the best college basketball atmospheres that you could have had. The SOCON, I mean, every year they ought to want Furman and Wofford to be in the championship game because it was incredible. But to your point, Diesel, late in the game, Wofford was up 7. You had the call right here on your Dan Scott had the call. You were on the board for Dan and Tom. Wofford was up 7 late. And if you remember, Furman came back and actually took the lead, Diesel. After they took the lead, I thought, oh, boy, they've got the momentum. There was, 3 or 4 minutes to go in the game. And then what did Wofford do? Wofford went on a monstrous run to end the game. And I just thought, as good as Bob Ritchie is, and as much as we talk about Bob Ritchie, I thought Dwight Perry did a phenomenal job last night, and he deserves a lot of credit. By the way, Dwight Perry joining us on the show at 4:05 today. But, man, Wofford, I don't know if you remember this, Wofford turned the ball over 5 straight possessions.
Yeah.
I thought it was over.
Yeah, it seemed like Furman was taking over the momentum of that game. Here was one of my favorite calls from Dan Scott. Now, he gets a little loud towards the end of this, so just be prepared to maybe drop the audio.
All right.
But Dan Scott, play-by-play voice of the Furman Paladins, had what I think might be the most appropriate, best call you could have in a game like this. If it'll play.
Two heavyweight boxers standing in the middle of the ring, landing punch after punch on one another. Nick Anderson, deep 3 straight away. Yes! He was 3 steps behind the line. He didn't care. He's got 8, 5 in this half. Paladins by 4.
That's when Furman was leading. Wofford made their big play to come back there. He had this fantastic call as well, Cole.
Furman 60, Wofford 58. We go under the 12-minute mark, which means a timeout is coming at the next whistle. Ed Bronson pitches to Nick Anderson on the left wing. Nick puts it on the floor. Free throw line. Got the shot off. It's good. And he's fouled.
Wow.
Fouled by Luke Flynn. And Flynn got the worst of that. He fouled him with his face. And he's going to walk away with a bloody nose.
I mean, it was a rock fight between these two teams.
It was.
Absolute rock fight.
It was a fantastic game. Hats off to the Wofford Terriers. A big, big win. Again, 92-85. We'll get back into the Wofford Furman conversation at 3:45 because what a game it was. I saw a lot of you up there last night, a lot of you Tolos. But we are joined now live on the stream, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, and anywhere on the free Odyssey app by Coach Anderson of the Greenville Red Raiders, the most recent state champions. Coach, congratulations. How are you, man?
I'm good. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, man. Congratulations on Greenville State Championship. My first question to you, Coach, is when you talk about the landscape of high school basketball, you know, there's two divisions now in certain classifications. The landscape certainly changed, but you guys able to defy the odds. And a season, I was looking back this morning, and I was really impressed by the ups and downs that you guys had. A really good season, by the way, but able to finish when it mattered most. We were just talking about Wofford Furman. Coach, talk about how much there is to be said about not only having a great regular season, but being able to play your best basketball at the right time.
Yeah, early in the season, we're still, you know, coming along with our chemistry and, you know, just weren't playing very well. Won some games, but probably 3 or 4 games we probably shouldn't have won. Really ugly, just didn't play well. We're not connected on either end of the floor. And, you know, we were a talented group, so we pulled out some games. Like I said, we probably shouldn't have. And, you know, when we played Goose Creek in our tournament up here, they were just too good for us to turn it on and off. And it was a valuable lesson for us. I mean, without losing that game to them early in the year, I don't know if we, you know, lock in and get better like we did this season without that. So that game changed a lot for us this season.
Coach, what's it like to end a season like this that culminates in a state championship? You get to enjoy being a state champion, and that's fantastic. But is there any bit of it that's bittersweet? Because I'm sure you don't want the winning to end. You know you had a special group. You would like to go out there and keep winning.
Well, I mean, if you're a good team, you usually don't win your last one unless you win it all. So, you know, this is my 13th year at Greenville and the first time that we've ever won our last game. So that changes a lot because usually you're upset when the season ends. And, you know, this has been different. It's been a ride. The whole city's been buzzing. The school's been electric this week. I mean, just the crowd that showed up for us. And, you know, Goose Creek missed some free throws down the stretch. And I really think that, you know, our crowd and our student section had something to do with that. So it's been special. It's been fun. You know, still can't believe it's true. You know, we've talked about this and been so close for so long. So we're just enjoying the ride, and these kids deserve all the credit. They're a special group of young men for sure.
We're joined by Coach Mike Anderson, the head basketball coach at Greenville High School. Coach, it's a funny story. I was covering South Carolina women, and I was at the Bon Secure on Sunday before the championship game, and I was talking to a resource officer or a Greenville City officer who I didn't know at the time is the resource officer for you guys at Greenville High School, and he was at the game the night before, and he was excited. To your point about there being a lot of buzz, man, there was a lot of buzz, and it's awesome. Franklin Whitley, 25 points, 14 rebounds. Caden Coleman scored 21 points in the championship. Roman Cooley had 13. Coach, talk about the team effort and for those that don't know and follow Greenville basketball, those that really made this night possible, not only this night, but y'all's success all season long.
Yeah, so those 3 guys you just mentioned, and then also Tucker Scholl, he's number 10 for us. He was in double digits as well. So we've got 4 guys that average double digits, anywhere between, you know, 10 and 13, 14 points, and it just makes it tough for teams to defend us because if you try to take away A and B, then we've got C and D. If you try to take away B and D, then we've got A and C. You know, just we've got multiple weapons. Those 4 guys will all play college basketball. Roman's the only senior, so got a good group coming back next year. So it's been a blessing. We've got, you know, obviously other guys as well that played their role. Nehemiah Tompkins was kind of our defensive stopper. Not really the role he wanted early in the season, but as the year grew and he continued to progress, that's the role he embraced and the role that this team needed. He can score as well. I mean, he's going to probably play college basketball somewhere as well. And then we've got Israel Deaver. You know, it was funny. The announcers were coming up with all kinds of nicknames for him the other day. And, you know, just reflecting on that game afterwards, you know, because we should have fouled. We talked about fouling, you know, before regulation ended. I won't say who it was, but he didn't foul and said he forgot. And, you know, but reflecting later, Izzy had his moment in overtime and hit that big three. So had we won it in regulation, then he wouldn't have had his moment that he deserved. Israel has just been the ultimate team guy and, has sacrificed a lot of his own personal, goals and stuff for the good of the team. He's been our sixth man and just an outstanding young man. And, so happy for him and all the guys.
State champion winning head coach Mike Anderson of Greenville High School, 28-2 on the season. You really can't call it a season of ups and downs when you only had 2 losses on the year. But, all coaches can look back at moments when your team pulled out of a hole or overcame some adversity. What moments come to mind for you and for your team this season that you can point back to and say that was kind of a turning point, or that was a moment where we really took things to a next level?
I think the first one was when we went up to Oak Hill and played. We really played out of our mind the first half, and we were down 4 at halftime. And I think then the guys just saw how good we could be. Like I said, some of those earlier games, we just weren't playing as hard as I felt like we could. We weren't as connected on defense. And, you go play at Oak Hill, you better be ready or you're going to get embarrassed. So the guys were really locked in. Now, mistake on my part is didn't realize we were going to be at such altitude. And I think they got in a little trouble at halftime, Oak Hill. Coach Stoneman, he's a good friend of mine. And they put it on us a little bit the second half, and we kind of ran out of gas. But just a great experience. So I think that was the first thing. And then going back to what I said earlier about that Goose Creek game when they came up for our tournament, I think that was just a awakening for our guys that, hey, against the good teams, you can't just turn it on and off. And from that point on, we just got way more consistent on both ends of the floor and started playing a lot better basketball.
Coach, talk about the way that game ended. Goose Creek made a buzzer-beating three-pointer to force the first overtime. You guys had led by as many as 5, I believe, within that last final or that final minute of regulation. And then you talked about the buzzer beater a minute ago from your team. Can you recall a game that you've been in like that was just so wild and so climatic?
No, it was crazy. I mean, I've had so many people from all over reach out and just say they thought that was the game of the year in our state, regardless of boys, girls, or regardless of classification. I mean, it was just that good of a high school basketball game. And, it's unfortunate that somebody had to lose that. It's just a great, great game, a great atmosphere. The people in Florence were great to us, high school league folks and staff and all that. It was really good. So special moment for our kids. We're just glad we could squeeze it out and eke it out. And, it was just meant to be. I just really think it was just meant to be for us.
Coach, how did you and your team celebrate immediately after the game, the next couple of days after the game? How did you decompress and really just enjoy it and soak it in?
So when we went down there on Wednesday after the game with Fort Mill, and that was another one that came down to the wire, and, we didn't even lead that game at all until the last 14 seconds. We took our first lead of the game, was the last basket that we scored. So we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. So when we came back, we tried to do everything the same, that we did on Wednesday, stayed at the same hotel, did all the same things. So,
What was the flavor of wings you ate, Coach?
I had buffalo and lemon pepper. So
there you go.
That was my
probably
go-to.
smart not to eat atomic wings right before a big game,
No. Well, this was all afterwards. So after the game, the Goose Creek game, we went back there. A lot of the parents and, some of the fans and stuff, they came as well. So we kind of overtook that place for a couple hours and let the kids get some food and decompress. And had some of the parents just was like, Coach, you look like one of the kids over there. And I was on my phone. I was just on my phone because, I had over 250 texts, people calling left and right. And I was just trying to at least everything and get back to everyone. And for a solid hour and a half, that's all I was doing was trying to respond to everybody that was reaching out, which was really cool. People that I haven't talked to in a long time. I had people that I coached 25 years ago at Walhalla and kids from JL Man when I used to be over there that were just all invested in this group. And, that was really special.
Coach, you talked about the buzz with you guys winning a state championship. And you're exactly right. In fact, a couple of people told me have told me in the last few days that not only is it special for you guys to win it, but because of what happened with your athletic director not too long ago, this one seemed a little more special. Can you go into that?
Yeah, Skelly was just a great guy, a big mentor to me, and I just know he was with us this whole playoff run, and that's one of the reasons earlier I said it was just meant to be. I mean, we had some crucial mistakes here or there, and it's just like he helped us overcome. I talked to some people about the Goose Creek game and just said, I could just hear Skelly saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm trying to help you, and you're trying to mess it up." And I could just hear him laughing. He had this just special, unique laugh, and it just lit up the room. So, it's been a whirlwind. Obviously, for me, it was special to win it for him and kind of in his honor and memory, and all that he did to reach out to our community. And he poured into a lot of people, not just me, but a ton of our coaches and former baseball players, and he was one of a kind.
Coach Mike Anderson, Greenville boys basketball state championship winning coach. Congratulations on your success. You well-deserved time off this summer. I don't know how you're going to spend it, but I know you're probably going to be thinking about basketball and how to get back there and possibly win another one. But congratulations to you and to your team and to the families of all those players. I just wish you the absolute best.
Thanks,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Really good stuff there, man. I appreciate Coach Anderson for hopping on with us. And what a time, man. Like, he's exactly right, Diesel. For the boys team at Greenville High School to be able to go capture that, they were really good this year. They were so good. Great players, and every good coach will tell you that championships don't happen, right, without those good players. So really appreciate Coach Anderson for hopping on with us because high school basketball means a lot to a lot of people here. And in the upstate for Greenville, he mentioned the places he's been, Wahala, J.O. Man. Congratulations to all of those as well that weren't mentioned by name as well, Diesel.
Yeah, just a fantastic thing to bring it back here to Greenville. And like you said, he's bringing back almost all of his talent next year. And we'll see if
one senior, is that what
Greenville can turn itself into a little bit of a basketball dynasty. It feels like, Cole, the high school in the biggest city in the upstate should be the elite basketball program of the state. Let's see if that's what they can become next year, obviously having a lot of talent coming back. When we come back, it's happening, Cole. Remember how I've occasionally talked about pundits around the NFL and the draft trying to will things into existence? Well, it's happening. One guy thinks the Carolina Panthers should do a deal with the devil and trade out of the number 8 spot, but you'll never guess who he thinks they should do that trade with. That conversation coming your way next. Tolos, we all have things we want in life that just feel barely out of reach, whether it's a new boat, a car, an ATV. If that sounds like you, go to mtcfederal.com and talk to my friends at MTC Federal Credit Union. Born and raised right here in the upstate of South Carolina in 1979. MTC Federal Credit Union isn't a bank. They're a credit union. Their whole reason for Carolina Panthers made a handful of moves in free agency. They signed a couple of players back to the roster. Before we talk about that, we go to the phone lines and bring on Rick and Greer, who was unfortunately stunted by a conversation by a guest that we had on the show yesterday. He was itching to be a part of the show, but he couldn't be. So I guarantee he's got double the you-know-what and vinegar in him. Rick and Greer, what's on your mind today?
I don't know. I didn't listen yesterday, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You called in, Rick.
I called in.
Yeah.
I'm getting dementia, okay?
God. And speaking of vinegar, it's so funny that you just said vinegar, Diesel, because you did not know this. But before Rick came on during the break when I screened his call, he brought up vinegar. Rick, why did you bring up vinegar and let the Tolos know? So I asked Rick if, Rick always has an answer to everything, right? I asked Rick Diesel during the break, how does Rick get rid of a head cold? You can probably tell and hear, I've had a head cold for like 4 days now. Rick, what was your answer?
Okay, my mother was Amish. Okay, let's get this out in the open. She was a nurse for the people in the Amish community in Pennsylvania before I was born. So what she does for head cold, well, first of all, you know what she does for ear infections?
I don't know if we want to know, Rick.
She used to make me pee in a jar, heat the pee up, and then put it in my ear.
Please don't
Honest to
tell
God.
me. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
It has urea in it, and it will cure a ear infection. So you don't have to go to the doctor.
Okay.
They make drops for that, Rick,
Yeah,
that
they
are
do.
not your own urine.
Yeah.
Okay. Second of all, you need a head cold cured. This is how you do it. You get a 12-ounce Coke. You take a spoon of vinegar. You take about a spoon of rockin' rye. I know everybody knows what that is. Liquor. And a spoon of honey. You mix it all together. That head cold goes away.
Now, are you being serious when you say that? Is that true?
True. My mother, I wish she passed away. I love my mother, and she was Amish, so I wouldn't lie about that.
Okay.
That's true.
I want to know from other Tolos out there listening if they've heard. Have you heard that before, Diesel?
I mean, there's a
Coke.
1,000,001 old wives' tales and
Yeah.
old remedies. If your mom was Amish, does that mean that you were Amish, Rick?
I guess I'm half Amish. I like you riding in my car. I'm not going to ride on no horse or anything. But she was Amish, and my father was Cherokee Indian.
Wow.
Oh.
So
How did they get together? I mean, the Amish aren't really known for leaving their areas up there in Pennsylvania, except on Rumspringa, which means you get to go out and party and have a good time.
I know what it is. My grandfather was an elder. The elders is what held the community together. They had 5 elders. They were like the leaders. So they got some people in to do some work they couldn't do. One of them was my father. He fell in love with my mother.
Wow.
Married her when she was 17. And
The rest is history.
The elders did not like my grandfather didn't like this Cherokee. He was woo.
That's racist. You can't say that on the radio,
Jeez.
Rick. Hey, we got a texter, Rick, who wants to know about the whole pee in the ear thing. Does it have to be yours, or can you get it from someone else?
Oh, my God.
I think you can get it. Pee is pee. It has urea in it. You can buy urea. If you think I'm crazy, go to the store and you can buy urea.
Yeah, but that's medical grade, right?
Yeah.
That comes from a factory. It's not just a bunch of dudes sitting around peeing in jars.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
And marking it $3.99.
but the pee is 80% urea. So why go spend the money when you can just,
God.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, Rick.
Appreciate you. Diesel, I don't know. Shane Barrett.
How do
on
I
the-
follow that?
No, you don't. You just.
How do I
you
follow
just,
that?
You just don't. You just end the show. Shane Barrett on the YouTube stream says he's going to try it. I've had can you tell? I don't know if you can tell, but yesterday it was really bad. Today it's not as bad. You can tell, though, when I talk that I'm stuffy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't have rain last night? Like I woke
Yeah.
up and things were covered in water.
Man,
Like,
I've been, for the past 4 days, I've been
buckets were full.
sneezing, coughing, head cold. I don't feel bad. That's the thing. I feel great.
yeah, it's allergies for you.
It's just all up here, and I think
I think
Shane
we should
Barrett
do a
has it
neti
too.
pot on the air.
Is that what he's calling it?
No. That's something else. Neti pot is like basically waterboarding
Oh,
for your sinuses, and it's
Gotcha.
supposed to flush your sinuses out. Would you do that live on the show?
Yeah. Look, we've had
Interesting.
1, 2, 3 texters who confirmed Diesel the remedy for the cold, the rock and rye. I've never heard that before, so I would try it. I would absolutely try it because I hate a head cold.
I'm going to show you, Cole, what a neti pot looks like.
Okay.
And this is from the Mayo Clinic, so you can
Yeah.
tell.
Oh, it's 100%
that you
real
can
then.
trust them. Okay,
Yep.
let me get to the part where they actually do the thing, right?
What? Huh? Huh?
So this lady has filled up a pot with a solution. It looks like a teapot, and she's just pouring it in one nostril, and it comes out the other nostril.
Wait a minute. She's pouring that in her
Yeah.
ear.
No, she's not pouring it in her ear. She's
Oh,
pouring it.
she's pouring it. I
She's
can see
pouring
it
it
better
in
now.
one nostril, and it's coming out the other nostril. Would you do that?
If it worked, yeah.
Well,
I mean, if it works, I'll do it. I mean,
ancient Chinese medicine, you know.
if it works, I mean,
What if it was? I mean, I know this is the South. What if it was a Yeti pot instead of
Yeah,
a neti pot?
that's
Would you more
okay,
likely
too.
to do it? Cadillac says, "I'll stick with red oil in my ears. Rock and rye works as well." Texter says, "It only took 2 minutes for Rick to get us way off the rails." Let's see here. So Texter says, "My mom uses vinegar for literally anything. It can cure a swollen ankle if you soak brown paper bags in vinegar and wrap them around your ankle."
What?
Is that like? Is vinegar like the Robitussin of the external
Yeah.
medicine world? Because Robitussin fixes anything.
Must be.
And Chris Rock had that sketch of like, if the tussin runs out, you just pour some water in it, shake it up, Motussin, as they say.
And Shane's going to try it. He said 12 ounces of Coke, 1 spoonful of vinegar, 1 spoonful of honey, and 1 ounce of rock and rye. I think that's
I
what
think
he
we
said.
need to try it live on the air.
I'll do it.
I mean, what better way to find out if it works or not?
Head cold's the worst, man. I'll try anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes modern medicine ain't all that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go back to the old school ways that used to work.
And it sucks if you do radio because you sound like you're all talked up,
Yeah.
You're stopped up. You sound like you know what. Nobody listens to the radio when you have a head cold. I mean, it's bad.
So, Cole, transitioning back to sports here, okay? Making that a hard
that's,
left turn.
that's
Thanks a
tough.
lot,
Thanks,
Rick. Carolina Panthers made a handful of moves around the beginning of free agency. They signed a couple of guys back. We talked about it yesterday. J.C. Horn, now the highest paid cornerback in the league at $25 million a year. But not a ton of guys coming from other rosters. Just 4 players added to the Carolina Panthers depth chart. Defensive tackle Bobby Brown from the Rams. Defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs. Linebacker Pat Jones from the Vikings. And safety Trayvon Moehrig from the Raiders.
I like that name.
Haven't heard of a ton of these guys, Cole, so maybe they're more depth guys than anything else. Maybe they make the team, maybe they don't. We'll just have to see what happens. Obviously, with the draft coming up, this could change some of the things the Carolina Panthers want to do. It depends on what kind of formations they're going to run this year, whether or not they need this many defensive tackles on the roster.
If
Cole.
they decide to play defense or not.
If they,
they
right,
might not
right,
even
right.
play defense.
But the common conception to this point has been that the Carolina Panthers will go the best edge rusher available
Yeah.
when it comes to that point in the draft. But Tom Fornelli, a guy that's been around for a long time covering the NFL, has one doozy of a prediction for what the Carolina Panthers will do. And I will burn any piece of Carolina Panthers gear I have. And there's not
no.
much of it because I just started believing in this team. I just started picking up things last year, Cole. He forecasts that the Carolina Panthers, who have the number 8 overall pick, will make a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs to trade away the 8th pick. They'll get the Kansas City Chiefs first-round draft pick, and that the Carolina Panthers will take a wide receiver to complement to complement what they picked up last year in Xavier Legette, and that they will forego any kind of trying to get better on defense in the first round. Your initial reaction.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
right?
Who's this guy, Tom from Somerville, you said? Is that who's reporting this? I mean, basically, it's the same thing. Diesel, there's no way. They cut Miles Sanders today to clear up $5 million in cap space. And I know that's not a lot of money, but
It all adds up.
It adds up. I think that would be quite possibly the dumbest decision ever. And I'll tell you this. Do I trust Dave Tepper? No. But I do trust Dan Morgan. I think Dan Morgan's was an incredible hire, and I do think Dan Morgan is going to do a really good job if the Panther fans will be patient with him. There is no way, and we'll cut this audio and save it, but there's no way and you know where that Dan Morgan's going to trade that pick because you know why? You worked so hard all season to almost blow that pick. You sucked so well. Don't cut that either for a promo. All season long to earn the 8th pick. So no, that would be the dumbest decision ever. This is not a wide receiver draft where you feel like you can do this. There's nobody out there that you look at and think, oh man, this is a great wide receiver room, Diesel. I think that would be terrible.
Well, what Tom Fornelli predicts will happen is that they trade 8 for 31. They'll get another pick on top of that, which in theory adds a lot of young depth to this team. But he's predicting that the Carolina Panthers go Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, which I think would be a great addition to any team.
Sure.
But that's not what they need right now. They need defense right now. Which Tolo was it, by the way, that predicted Egbuka to the Panthers just a few days ago?
Yeah, you're right. Diesel, here's the problem with that, okay? What happens if that is your plan and you're going to go, okay, we're going to go from 8 to 31. If that's your plan, what happens if Egbuka, how do you say his name?
Egbuka?
Yeah, what happens if he gets gone before you pick?
Yeah.
What happens if he goes quicker? No, then you're screwed. Then your entire plan it's already stupider than it originally was. That's a terrible decision. And look, I agree with you. To your point, he's a really good player. He can be, in my mind, an immediate difference maker, Diesel, as a rookie in the NFL. But you can't afford to fall back to 31. You've got to go get the best player available at 8, and you've got to go defense. You've got to bolster this defense.
Egbuka listed right now as the number 3 wide receiver in this draft. He's listed as the 28th best player overall available, behind Luther Burden III, who's sitting at 13 overall, Matthew Golden sitting at 34 overall. I mean, imagine if you put all your eggs in the we're going to go get Egbuka basket, pun intended, and somebody takes him at 25, 26, and you're stuck with Matthew Golden or Trey Harris or Jack Beach, guys that nobody's ever even heard of that are not superstars. No. Go get yourself a superstar defensive end, somebody that can harass the quarterback, because the Carolina Panthers were awful in that regard last year.
And
so, Tom Fornelli, go to hell with this projection.
And what you just said. What a lesson we learned. What a lesson we learned in the Super Bowl. And what am I talking about? What do I mean? You just said you could not affect the quarterback. You could not rush the passer. What did we just learn in the Super Bowl? That if you have guys, Diesel, that can go get after the quarterback, you can win championships. Defense still does win championships. Carolina had no pass rush, almost no pass rush a season ago. It would be foolish, in my mind, to forego drafting someone out of Georgia with your 8th overall pick. There's not enough reward. It's too big of a risk in my mind. It's not enough. The Ohio State receiver might be really good, but there's just way too much risk there.
And the fact that the deal is proposed to go down with the Chiefs, a dynastic team in the Kansas City Chiefs. That's like knowing that the Empire is still like 5 years away from developing Death Star technology, and then you just go hand it to them. Here you go. We're going to give you a way to make you stronger so you can kick our asses.
Pitiful.
Oh my God. Last year there was supposedly going to be like a riot or whatever around Bank of America Stadium, and it was all AI. None of the images of it were real, like a march on Mint Street, I think is what they called it. Didn't actually happen. It would happen this time. Pitchforks, tiki torches, whatever. Surround that stadium and don't let Dan Morgan out of his office if he hands the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl team year in and year out, a top 10 pick. That would be one of the dumbest things he could possibly do.
You absolutely can not do it, Diesel.
And very quickly, some moves that happened in free agency yesterday. After we got off the air, Daniel Jones signs a one-year, $14 million deal with the Colts. Chase Young, the 2020 number 2 overall pick, is headed to New Orleans. He had 31 sacks and 8 TFLs last year. And running back Najee Harris is headed to the San Diego Chargers.
How about that?
1,000-yard back in 2024. He's on a 1-year, $9.5 million contract.
Tolo's a huge show coming your way. And when I say huge, I mean it. We're going to get back into the Wofford-Furman conversation. We have Dwight Perry, the Wofford men's head basketball coach, joining us at 4:05. We're also going to dive into the NFL at 4:20. At 5 o'clock, some really big, potentially big news, Diesel, concerning the South Carolina High School League. If you have not seen this yet on Twitter, I broke this earlier today. It is going wild on Twitter, as you can imagine, and Facebook. But there is potential, Diesel, that the high school league could be dissolved. We'll be joined by Scott Early, the executive director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association, to talk about that at 5 o'clock. And your thoughts as well at 844-326-3663. A lot of conversation to be had about last night. Tolos, did you watch Furman-Wofford? It was nationally televised. Everybody was commenting on it. Dave Portnoy was commenting on it. The underhand free throws were viral everywhere from Felowich. Wofford defeats Furman 92-85 to win the Southern Conference. We will be joined by Dwight Perry, the head basketball coach at Wofford, at 4:05 today on the show to talk about the big win. Diesel, obviously you were here at the station watching and listening to the game. Wofford shot 54% from the field, 50% from the three-point line. And ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a news flash. When you shoot 50% from three-point land compared to 39.4 for Furman, you're going to win a lot of games. A really good night shooting the basketball. Diesel, we do this a lot in pro sports, and I want to ask this question to you and the Tolos. Do you feel like, and I know Furman's our flagship, or we're the flagship ship for Furman, but do you feel like Furman lost that game last night, or do you feel like Wofford truly went out and grabbed it and won the game? Because Furman late, I thought they captured it late in the game, Diesel.
I think Furman lost it.
Yeah.
I genuinely do. There was that stretch there where they were running the 1-3-1 zone, and Wofford couldn't do anything with it. Furman got themselves up to a 6-point lead, and then it all just disappeared like a fart in the wind, and they just could not get off the mat. They were missing free throws. They were missing three-pointers, which, these two teams were trading three-pointers constantly throughout this game. But regardless, a great showing from both of these two teams. A terrible showing from the SOCON referees. Put your dang whistle in your pocket. Every single play they were calling ticky-tack fouls. Let these two teams play. Did you get that sense in the arena, Cole, as well? I mean, I was watching the game. I was like, another one.
Yeah.
Another, and they were calling nothing fouls.
Well,
like,
you know me. I was already texting you with excuses, blaming the refs for a Wofford loss.
I'm surprised you didn't have them saved as a note in your phone so that you could just copy and paste one.
I was ready to unload the excuses. No, there were a lot of calls last night, some of them iffy, especially both ways, to your point. I don't feel like it was in favor of one team, Diesel. It just felt like there were some icky calls last night. Jackson Silvas was really good last night, 20 points for Wofford. Dylan Bailey, 15 points. Corey Tripp, 11. Justin Bailey, 19 points. Kyler Felowich, 13 points. And guess what? He made 3 free throws, 3 of 7.
Well, and the crazy thing is, he couldn't hit anything early in the game until we got down the stretch when those fouls started to pile up. And Wofford was at the line, and then all of a sudden it was automatic. Nets, just
funny,
burning
man?
up the nets. When they absolutely had to have them, Wofford was fantastic from the free throw line. Do you think Felowich could be this year's Robbie Avila?
Maybe so. And to your point, Diesel, Wofford last night, watching that game, Justin Bailey, his free throws at the end of the game, he was 8 of 9. He was 8 of 9. And down the stretch, man, he hit his free throws. Cooper Bowser last night, 11 points. P.J. Smith, good night, 27 points for him. I thought maybe his legs got a little tired on him toward the end of the game. Nick Anderson had a good night, 15. But, Diesel, you know what, man? Watching Cooper Bowser in person, that guy's like 10 feet tall. Not really, but he's so big. I almost do feel like you have to get the ball more to him because he's such a force. Charles Johnson off the bench had 12 last night for Furman. But to your point, I agree with you. I think Furman had every opportunity late, especially when Wofford was up 7. Furman then came back, grabbed the lead. Wofford had like 3 or 4 straight possessions of turnovers, man, and I thought, oh, boy, Furman might, go on a run here to
Bust it
end
wide
this.
open.
But guess what? They didn't. Wofford did. Wofford's the one that went on the run. And again, hats off to Furman. A really good season. Maybe Diesel, their legs, like we talked about yesterday, were a little tired late in that game from playing an overtime game. Wofford, though, they deserve all the credit in the world.
Texter says, Wofford definitely shot great from 3. Furman never had that third person step up and be consistent throughout the game. And yes, SOCON refs aren't great. speaking about to the first part of that, Wofford shooting great from three. They only hit one more three than Furman did. I mean, Wofford was 14 of 28. That's 50%. Those of you not great at math. Furman was 13 of 33. So clearly Wofford more efficient behind the three-point line. But, I mean, still shooting 40% from three is not a bad night for any team. So the big difference there was that Wofford hit their free throws when they had to have them. I mean, Wofford shot 78% from free throw. Furman shot 90%. So they outshot them from the free throw line. But Wofford just got them all when they absolutely had to have them. So congratulations to the Terriers. They will be representing the Southern Conference in the NCAA tournament. When we come back, Cole, we'll talk to the head coach of the Wofford Terriers, Dwight Perry, going to join us at 4:05 on the other side of the break, right here on 97.7 The Fan, upstate, 97.1 in Spartanburg, and everywhere you are on the free Odyssey app. Going to be joined by the head coach of the SOCON champion Wofford Terriers, Dwight Perry, here in just a few minutes. Let's catch up on some of what you are saying, you Tolos, who know to text in and call in at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Joey, I believe it was Joey here, texts in and says, hell yeah, trade the pick for a truckload of picks from the Chiefs. The VP of operations for the Panthers is from Kansas City. This draft is chock full of defensive talent that they could get their hands on in later rounds. So you and I, Cole, both vehemently oppose giving away a top 10 pick for moving down in the draft. Now, this is a prediction of what could happen. This is not a trade offer, so we don't know what the Kansas City Chiefs might offer. They might offer their 31st pick in the first round and another pick in the second round. Is that worth it? I don't think so.
I'd have to get a lot.
I mean, if you're picking then 31, 40, and then I'm bad at math here, 63rd, 62nd.
Yeah.
I don't know that does it for you. I mean, yeah, you put a lot of young players on your team, but they're not elite young players. So to me, they aren't necessarily going to be difference makers. Why would you make that kind of gamble just to get extra bodies on your roster?
And Diesel, before we're joined by Dwight Perry, I want to tease something that we're going to talk about at 5 o'clock with a good friend of the show. At 5 o'clock, we'll be joined by Scott Early. It took me, I had a brain fart. And
it's okay.
It took me 35 seconds to get
Scott's
Scott's
up there in
name.
age, you're almost 30.
So we'll be joined by Scott Early at 5 o'clock to talk about this. But I broke this earlier, Diesel, and I want to tease this. That way we can get this in the minds of the Tolos. There is a bill. It is Bill H.4163 that has been brought to the attention with several sponsors, which are signatures of congressmen and women, to the state that could potentially dissolve the South Carolina High School League. So this was huge news that came out today. Thanks to those who kind of gave me the story before it broke so I could get it out there. But Diesel, this is something that we're going to dive into at 5 o'clock. And just initially, your reaction to hearing this, that the high school league could potentially be dissolved and high school sports could be ran at the state level. This is a lot to unpack, obviously, but your initial reaction.
Do we really need government bureaucracy taking over high school sports?
I know it's.
I mean, is that where we are now, where we can't accomplish anything without government interference? How long is this going to last? Is the state government going to take over high school football indefinitely? Are they going to take it over forever? Are they just essentially voting no confidence in the structure that we have in place as a threat to say, hey, guys, get in line, get it together, because we'll disband you and create something new? Look, I mean, Cole, you would have to be the one to tell me, how large is the South Carolina High School League organization? Are we talking about hundreds of people who are about to lose their job?
No,
tens of people who are about to lose their jobs? You know, look, I get that people have a problem with the way things are run, but is government really the answer?
I don't know that it is. And I want to be very clear. And again, we're going to dive back into this at 5 o'clock with Scott Early. But I want to be very clear. I have always been on record saying we need new leadership. I have not said we need to abolish the high school league. I've said we need new leadership and that Jerome Singleton does a lousy job. I've never said we need to get rid of it. So, Tolos, hang on to that. Chew on that for a little while. We're going to dive back into that at 5 o'clock. Also,
Wait,
Diesel.
Didn't you just campaign to be the new dictator of the South Carolina high school leagues?
Maybe we got some. No,
maybe they heard you.
Diesel, real quick, while we effort Dwight Perry, how about this breaking news? Tiger Woods announced he ruptured his Achilles and underwent surgery yesterday. How about that?
Ow, that's painful. That's tough. I mean, you get to a certain age and things just start going downhill quickly, and it just starts to add up. You know, you have one injury, so your body overcompensates, and then all of a sudden you injure that thing. So that's terrible for Tiger. I mean, how's he going to go on his television show and walk back and forth from the little practice tee-off area to the fake green? How's he going to do that? Texter, I believe this is Dewey, says, get the SCHSL out of here. They're old and out of touch. I can hear the after that. They're old and out of touch.
Did you say Dewey said that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he called in earlier, but obviously didn't get through as we had a
It just
guest
sounds
on.
like something he would say.
It does sound like something he would say. But let's go to the phones where we bring in our very next guest of the program, Diesel. He is Dwight Perry, the head men's basketball coach at Wofford. Coach, congratulations. How are you?
I'd be lying if I said I was doing anything other than amazing this morning.
Coach,
or this afternoon. You can see where my mind is.
have you visited any like Botox doctor's appointments or anything to maybe remove that smile from your face? Because I guarantee you it's been stuck there.
Oh, it definitely has, and I don't want it to be removed anytime soon. Last night, and obviously early, all the way to early this morning, was an amazing celebration of a great group of guys, and I still really can't fully put into words the emotions that are going through my body right now. But I'm so blessed and fortunate to be a part of, honestly, a great basketball environment, not just a mid-major environment. That was a phenomenal basketball game from two really good teams.
It really was. As we're joined by Dwight Perry, for those of you who just tuned into the show, he is the head basketball coach at Wofford College. Coach, you're right. It was an unbelievable basketball game last night. We appreciate you taking time to hop on with us this afternoon to talk about it. When you played Furman last night for the third time this season, I want to know, from a coaching standpoint, from a coaching perspective, what do you do from the time you find out who your opponent is in those next 24 hours or whatever it is to get ready for Furman? Because in my mind, I would imagine there's not a ton of things you can do to get ready for a team you know pretty well, and you've already played twice. What did that 24 hours look like for you and your team?
Yeah, for us, it varies, right? Like the first game in the first round, it's pretty extensive because you have that full week of preparation. And then, even leading up to that week, you can play pretty much one of two teams. Or for us, we could have played the 10, the 7, or the 2. And so you're able to somewhat identify a couple teams you could potentially play. But when it comes to playing Monday, at least for us, we're not really putting any stock and any value in trying to game plan for a team, whatever it is on that side of the bracket that's 2-3 days away. And so to be honest, when you win Sunday night like we did against VMI, you really have to turn the page quickly, not just as a staff, but you have to get your guys' attention kind of refocused and recentered, because that game ended, if I'm not mistaken, around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and you're getting back to the hotel and you're kind of getting those guys locked in. I think the fortunate thing for us is the team we played, Furman, we had just played the last regular season game of the year. So as far as, like you said, like having a lot of time in between game 2 and game 3, I mean, it's like less than 10 days. So, I thought the way the second game ended, the last regular season game ended, they threw a couple different wrinkles at us that they kind of changed up from game 1. So we kind of went over those, especially on the defensive end of how they would defend us. But I thought, going into that game, the big part for us, I think you can really get lost in the weeds of trying to get into the details of different actions and different ways and different wrinkles. I told our guys, and to our guys' credit, they did a great job with it. The most important thing was we were going to have to be mentally tough. We're going to have to be mentally tough with things that were thrown our way that we didn't expect. We're going to have to be mentally tough with, different foul calls, with missed shots, with them making tough shots. The mentally tougher team was going to win. And to our guys' credit, I thought they really bought into that all the way up until the final buzzer sounded. And as a credit to them, we got the job done.
Coach, the game was a game of streaks. Your bunch started out really strong, getting off to a big lead early. Furman charged back, made it a really close game for the middle part of the first half and the beginning of the second half. And then Furman switched to a 1-3-1 zone, kind of put you guys on your heels for a little bit, forced a couple of turnovers. What was your message to that team, and what was going through your head as that was happening? Did you think, oh, here we go, or did you think, all right, here's what I need to do to adjust and correct that issue?
Yeah, I mean, not to get too deep, I thought they went to the 1-3-1 at the start of the game, our second game, and we actually got pretty good shots. We just didn't make them, and I thought that kind of got our guys on their heels. But then by the middle part of the first half and well into the second half of the second game, we did a really good job against the 1-3-1. And so, that was kind of one of those wrinkles I spoke on Sunday night that we kind of reiterated with our guys and kind of helped fine-tune some things for us. And to be honest, in the first half and the beginning of the second half, we handled the 1-3-1 really well, which is why they really didn't go to it until kind of the latter part of that second half when obviously we started to go on a run and pull away a little bit. And, uncharacteristically, we did have some turnovers in that span. I think up until that point, we had only had 5 turnovers for the game. But we called a timeout down 2 with about 2 minutes left. And I just told our guys, hey, at the end of the day, let's get stops. If we get stops, then we don't have to go against a set defense, and it doesn't matter what defense they're in. And to our guys' credit, I thought the last 2 minutes, that was a really high-scoring game, 92-85, which is really exciting. But I thought the last 2 minutes, them only having 2 points was just as big to us getting the win as it was us scoring because we were able to score. Jackson Silvers made a big-time 3 in transition to take the lead for good. But we don't get that opportunity without a stop on defensive end. And I thought our guys did a great job really buckling down and getting stops. And to their credit, we were really mentally tough enough to make big-time plays on both ends of the floor.
Coach, I'm very interested to know what was going through your head down the stretch late. Correct me if I'm wrong here. There were like 4 or 5 possessions almost in a row. You guys turned the basketball over, and I'm sitting there in the on the baseline thinking last night, oh no, that's where Furman's going to relish this opportunity and go up. If you remember that stretch where I was talking about where you guys turned it over several times late in the game, what was your message to your team? Because you had a 7-point lead, Furman came back, took the lead, and at that moment it seemed like Furman might be able to take control and close the game out.
Well, I tell you what, who needs Botox when you're reminding me of all those turnovers? That's easy to take the smile off. But no, I mean, whether fortunate or unfortunately, I vividly remember that period of time where we were turning the ball over and we were kind of giving the game back to Furman for sure. But yeah, I thought, in that moment again, I thought that was a big time environment. I've been in the Southern Conference for 11 years now. And that was by far the best environment I have seen, in the Southern Conference tournament. I thought it was packed. And not only was it packed, I thought the energy from both sides and both fan bases was electric. I mean, the ground was shaking. And so I'm not sitting here saying that's why we turned the ball over. But I think, in those times, I mean, there's a lot going on. And again, sometimes uncharacteristically plays happen. But I thought, again, our guys did a really good job of recentering, refocusing. I thought those plays were very unfortunate, but there were a couple times, again, when we did turn the ball over, we were still able to sprint back, get back on D, and we were able to minimize the amount of times that they were able to turn those turnovers into easy baskets, which I definitely would prefer to not have the turnovers to begin with. But we talk about it all the time, not losing 2 battles in a row. If you turn the ball over, you can't turn the ball over and sulk. If you turn the ball over, we all got to sprint back on defense so that we don't, have a snowball effect. And to our guys' credit, I think, it wasn't perfect, but for the most part, we were able to stay locked in on the task at hand in spite of the turnovers during that period.
To your point about that environment, Coach, 6,332 fans in attendance, just packed to the rafters. One highlight of a night that was full of highlights is that Dave Portnoy of Barstool tweeted a video of your center, Kyler Felowich, and his underhanded free throw. It's been seen by nearly 1 million people. What kind of attention has Kyler gotten since that tweet went out, and how's he responding to it?
Oh, he's gotten a lot of attention, as you can imagine. At the start of this, Rick Barry, obviously the Rick Barry, came and helped Kyler and gave him, some of his feedback and thoughts and pointers on it, which at the end of the day, we're getting to the point, unfortunately, there's a lot of people, a lot of young guys don't know how great of, first off, a basketball player Rick Barry was, right? One of the 50 greatest players of all time. But then statistically, he's number one in the NBA free throw percentage list of the best free throw shooter. So, I mean, if you can get pointers from literally statistically the best free throw shooter of all time, I think you take that. If you can get pointers from one of the best 50 players to ever walk the face of the earth, not just for Kyler, for all our players, you relish that opportunity. And so I think that's really helped. But I think, to be honest, I think it's allowed Kyler. We talked about it. We obviously wanted Kyler, and Kyler was, the biggest proponent of it. He wanted to be the best player he could be, and he wanted to help the team win. And he wanted to not have anything that he could control impact the team winning. And so, if we could have Kyler maintain his confidence and his aggression and his physicality, whatever we did, that was going to be the most important part of that process. And
Coach,
the second part was making the free throws. But I think it's really easy to overlook that first part. And to Kyler's credit, he's really bought into it.
Sorry about that, Coach. Didn't mean to step on you. Two players last night, Silvas and Justin Bailey. 19 points for Justin Bailey, 20 for Jackson Silvas. Can you talk about not just the impact those two have had on the game last night, but also the impact they've had on the program this season? You guys obviously 10-8 in conference play, not coming in as one of the top seeds, but last night when it was most crucial, those two showed up and showed out.
Oh, it was huge. I think those two guys have been big for us all year. And, I think it's easy to look at the shots that they make, but those guys' mentality, all they care about is winning. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. They have a great energy, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so whether they're making or missing shots, they still impact the game. And I thought it was great last night because they did what they always do on the defensive end and bringing the energy and positivity. But in addition to that, they were making big-time shots. And when they're doing that, we're a significantly better team, and we're a team that is really dangerous. And I think we all saw that last night on an unbelievable stage.
Wofford head basketball coach Dwight Perry joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Any night you can make 14 threes, you're going to have a pretty good night. So credit to Justin and Dylan Bailey. Not biological brothers, but clearly there's some shared genes in their ability to hit from distance. Jackson Seville's was also fantastic back there. Do those guys come to you and say, "Coach, I'm feeling it. I think I can hit some threes. Let me get some shots from back there," to get that green light from you, or is that kind of an unspoken thing that they just kind of let play out throughout the game?
It depends on the situation. A couple of those guys definitely do point to us and say, "Hey, let's run a play or two." But all in all, the way our offense works, the ball usually finds the right guy. And when you have as many options as we do and as many weapons as we do on our team, there's going to be more than enough balls to go around for guys to get them up. It's all about making the right plays and shooting the right shots. And so we have a really unselfish team, but those guys definitely make shots at a high level. And when they get going, a couple of them definitely do kind of have that look in their eye that kind of says, "Hey, let's maybe run this play." And so, we try to balance it out, but they do a great job of taking the right shots.
Dwight Perry, the head basketball coach at Wofford. Coach, my last question for you. What is there to be said? I ask a lot of coaches this question, but what is there to be said about playing the right form and style of basketball, playing your best basketball at the right time? Because you guys 10-8 in conference play. Obviously, throughout the course of the SOCON, you take your bumps and your bruises, but when it all comes down to the SOCON tournament, being a one-bid league, one team has a shot to go dancing. And not to say the regular season doesn't matter, because obviously it does, but there's just so much to be said about a team like you guys getting hot at the right time.
100%. We talk about that as a program. When the season starts, we say we want to be playing our best basketball in March. We want to peak in March. And to your point, that doesn't mean everything in between November and March is irrelevant. Quite the contrary. You always want to strive to get better, but you want to be playing at a high level. You just want to be playing at your highest level, at your team, the potential for them to play in March. And so, like you said, there's definitely bumps and bruises along the way. We talk to our guys about that. All that is just adversity. And if you work through adversity and you handle adversity the right way, on the other side of that, you're going to be the best version of yourself. And I think as a team, we embodied that this year. There's definitely been ups and downs, but the guys in our locker room and in our program have stayed with it. They've continued to work. They've continued to have an understanding of the most important goal in mind, which is winning a Southern Conference championship. That's been at the front of their mind, even through those ups and downs. And it's allowed us to continue to get better when I think a lot of people would wonder, why are they continue to work hard? Why are they continue to have that great mentality? Why are they continue to strive to be better? And I think last night was a great example of, if you stay with it and you stay the course, you give yourself an opportunity to still reach your ultimate goal.
Coach, congratulations to you and to your team. Number one, you put on a fantastic show for the entire country to watch. I mean, I don't think the game could have played out any better for the optics of watching these two teams go head-to-head. Congratulations to you on the championship. Congratulations on the NCAA tournament berth. Now go out there and be great.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely, man. Really good stuff. And you know what, Diesel? I don't think we talk about it enough. I mean, I think he hit the nail on the head with that last question or that last answer. There's so much made about how you do in the regular season, and it matters. To his point, it does matter. But look at Wofford. 10-8 in the SOCON, right? Nobody really talked about Wofford being the team that wins it all in Asheville. But guess what? It's basketball. We talk about it in basketball more than any other sport. You get hot at the right time. You never know what can happen.
Yeah, it's it's something that I've brought up many times on the show. It's a feeling that I have that I wish that each conference, there's 32. Multiply that by 2, that's 64. How many teams do we get into the NCAA tournament? 64. I know it's 68 before any of you start yelling, but those are play-in games. They don't technically count. So really, we only have 64 teams. I think, Cole, that every conference should get 2 teams in the NCAA tournament, and that there should be a way for some of those 2 to combine into just one team. If the same team wins the regular season, which means you were great over the course of a 30-game season, versus being great over a 3 or 4 day conference tournament, there should be a way to get more teams from these conferences in the NCAA tournament. I wonder if Wofford does give the Southern Conference their best chance to go out and win a game in the NCAA tournament, or if a team that had a great body of work like Chattanooga or ETSU or UNCG might give the Southern Conference their best chance to go out and get a win in the NCAA tournament. But hey, I yell into the ether. Nobody seems to think that's a good idea.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm just so happy. And again, I know we carry Furman, and obviously we hate it for them that their season came to an end. But me being from Spartanburg, having gone to Wofford games my entire life, I'm just so happy for Coach Perry and for that team and that program, because man, they played so well last night. I'm just so happy for them, and appreciate Coach Perry for taking the time to join us on the show. But Diesel, when we come back around the NFL, we mentioned this yesterday, but didn't get to spend a ton of time talking about it. A lot happening in the NFL. Free agency is running wild. Tolos, what has surprised you the most? We'll get into that next. oh man, is there a lot happening in the NFL right now, Tolos. Diesel and I want to hear from you. The phone lines are wide open at this very moment. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Do what other Tolos have done and save that number in your phone. That way you can just say, hey, Siri, call the Fan Upstate. You think I just got one of the Tolos phones to call by their radio telling Siri what to do? I hope I did, because we want to hear from you on the text line as well. And as soon as I did that, look, now my phone is...
Well, mine didn't, so mine doesn't listen to you.
Well, it doesn't like me. Mine and me and your Siri had a falling out a couple of weeks ago. So my Siri, we're still on good terms. I do fuss at Siri, though, sometimes. When I ask her to do something and she doesn't do it.
Well, isn't that what Apple Intelligence was supposed to fix? All the stupid... you ask a question, hey, you know, I'm trying to get my phone to go off.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the capital of Wisconsin? Well, I found this on the web for you. Here's the history of the capital of Wisconsin. I didn't ask that question. I just asked for the answer to the question. And that's what Apple Intelligence is supposed to fix.
That's right.
Now, I don't have a pro version of an iPhone, so I don't have Apple Intelligence on mine.
So it's amateur, right?
Does it work? Worth a damn? Like, anybody who's already downloaded whatever software you got to have to use Apple Intelligence, is it any good or is it just total crap?
You can also, while we're on the subject, while we're on the topic, reminder, you can also, if you have an Alexa device in your home, you can tell Alexa, say, hey, Alexa, play the Fan Upstate. That's another way you can listen to the show. But I want to hear from you, Tolos, on this NFL. What move has surprised you the most? What stood out to you? What's your team looking for? What's your team done or not done? If you're a Cowboys fan like me, it's the not done, right? But Diesel talked about the Panthers earlier in the show. A lot going on. We touched on this yesterday, Diesel, with Sam Darnold, right? A big move for him going to the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think he has the weapons that he had in in Minnesota. But there's a lot to be said right now about what's going on. Daniel Jones, not really moving the meter, but the most recent news, Diesel, Daniel Jones no longer with the Giants, obviously finalizing a one-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts. How about that?
Yeah,
$14 million.
Good for him, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, are things going that bad with Richardson there?
Who won that trade? Or not trade, but who won that? The Colts or Jones?
Daniel Jones's bank account
Right.
and his agent that got him $14 million.
Off of one deal. And look, I know there's a lot to be said also about Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy, which the deal that I do think will get done, Brock Purdy has stirred a lot of conversation, a lot of controversy that has surrounded this mantra of being just a serviceable quarterback, a game manager. I think Brock Purdy has proven already, Diesel, that he's very able to go in the NFL and win big games. He had a lot of talent. Obviously, some of his talent has left him now with Debo going to the East Coast in Washington. But I think Brock Purdy's a guy that you look at, right now, you have him. You might as well sign him. We have seen other teams out there, ask the Jets, ask the Vikings, what it's like not knowing who your guy is. I think when you have a guy, this is why you see teams pay so much for quarterbacks, Diesel.
Well, this is why, they should maybe pull a guy out of the second round to be a quarterback, if that's where they feel like they need to go.
Yeah.
If you think you have somebody that can be better than Brock Purdy, you get him on your roster and then let him battle it out. And if that means you move on from Brock Purdy a year from now or before the trade deadline, so be it. But, it means a lot to have a stable quarterback knowing what you're going to be able to get out of him. And that's why, I've been really high on this Geno Smith to the Raiders trade, because Geno Smith is a quality quarterback. Is he elite? No, of course not. But what you've got.
He's good, though.
With Geno. Yes, he's good. I'd say he's in the top third of quarterbacks in the NFL. You know what you're going to get out of him, and then you can build a team around Geno Smith. You can build a defense that can then go hold opponents to 1 point less than what you think a Geno Smith-led offense is going to get you. If you think Geno Smith is good for 28 points, guess what? Go build you a defense that can hold teams to 25, and you're going to win some football games. Gino's going to play better in some games, and the defense is going to play better in some games as well. So you have an opportunity to win games. I think that's probably one of the biggest trades in my mind. I think the Raiders, they were linked to all manner of young quarterbacks coming out of the draft. That doesn't necessarily need to be their focus right now. And if they're not sold on Shadur, you don't have to go get him. You can build a better team around Gino, and next year or the next year, if you think that's a better, stronger quarterback draft class coming out, then you can go get a guy a year or 2 years down the road.
A few updates, a few trades or signings, rather, that have happened within the last hour and a half. Cornerback Mike Hughes returning to the Falcons on a $18 million deal. Zay Jones returning to the Cardinals on a one-year contract worth $4.4 million. Running back Jeremy McNichols returning to the Commanders on a one-year deal. Juwan Johnson, Saints tight end, agreed to a $30.75 million deal with 21 and 25 guaranteed. Ravens signed fullback Patrick Ricard on a one-year deal. And let's see, pass rusher Anthony Nelson returning to the Bucs on a $10 million deal. Diesel, we'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a second because there's a lot of conversation to be had there. But a few minutes ago during the commercial break, you and I were talking about what's on the TV right now. Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, 4 guys that were a big part of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl have now left Philadelphia in free agency. I guess that's like the double-edged sword you have of having all this talent, being able to win a Super Bowl. But the bad part is you can't re-sign them all, right? So obviously a big loss for Philadelphia, losing some key pieces.
It feels like, we talk about college and the fact that you have to re-recruit your roster year in and year out. I wonder how much effort is made by GMs that feel like they may be on a trajectory to make a playoff run, who think they may have a team that's capable of winning a Super Bowl, because it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Anytime you win a Super Bowl, everybody wants to cash in on their payday, and deservedly so. You're professionals. Go get your money. But how many of these GMs are going around the locker room and saying, hey, we really want to turn this into something special, a multi-year dynasty that can win not just one Super Bowl, but 2 or 3 Super Bowls over the next 5 years. We want to make it worth your while. We understand that you want to go out and make as much money as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, what's the difference between making $20 million a year and ending up with 1 Super Bowl, or making $25 million, making 20 and winning 3 Super Bowls versus making 25 and only getting the 1 because you left when we had the opportunity to be something truly special and make the city of Philadelphia proud.
So here's the list. Milton Williams, who was incredible, 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl, gone, went to the New England Patriots. Josh Sweat, Diesel, 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl, gone to the Arizona Cardinals.
That was the one that doesn't make any sense to me.
I know, he's so good. Darius Slay, gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Isaiah Rodgers, gone to the Minnesota Vikings. Oren Burks, gone to the Cincinnati Bengals. So now you're talking about 5 guys who were impactful, a big piece of that Super Bowl. To your point, you can't keep them all. That's what happens. That's the nature of the beast, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But Philadelphia, their defense is going to look a lot different in 2025.
The Kansas City Chiefs did something about it. I mean, they figured out how to maintain a high level and maintain a big chunk of their roster every year, even though they were going to the Super Bowl year in and year out. I don't know what kind of witchcraft and voodoo the Chiefs were doing, and what kind of chemicals they were sprinkling on their players,
and they kept
to try
Chris
to keep
Jones,
them around.
To your point, I mean, Chris Jones is the best defensive player on their roster.
I tell you what, though, New England's defense is getting a heck of a lot better,
yeah.
And I was blown away by just how much. How many pieces they brought in on the defensive side of the ball there for the Patriots. I mean, they put some dudes on that roster.
Yeah, they did. They really did. Look, new coach, right? Last year didn't work out for them. And then the last thing that we'll touch on before we run to a break. Where will Aaron Rodgers be Eric Hines on the text line. Text the show what you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, and says, I think the Steelers should definitely sign Aaron Rodgers. Will he even be on a roster?
Who is the biggest Steelers rival?
The Ravens?
The Ravens. Eric Hines must be a Ravens fan because I think he wants the Steelers to lose. I mean, and look, I don't know why this deal hasn't gotten done. I know Aaron was, potentially in talks with multiple teams, including the Steelers. Is it that those teams are feeling cold feet about signing Aaron Rodgers, or is Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things and essentially holding out, whether it be for more money, whether it be just to hold these teams hostage for a while and make them think and make them sweat, which sounds like such an Aaron Rodgers thing to do, right? Like, you are garbage in New York, and it seems like nobody wants you, but you're still going to play hard to get.
So could we, and this is where I'll end it, this is where I'll stop talking during this segment. Diesel, could we see Aaron Rodgers do what his predecessor did? Brett Favre leave Green Bay and go to Minnesota. Minnesota just got rid of Sam Darnold, right? No longer have a quarterback. God. They're looking for a veteran quarterback.
What a joke Aaron Rodgers would be if he followed Brett Favre to Minnesota.
I mean, but
come on.
Couldn't you kind of see it, though? I mean, where else is he going to? Pittsburgh? I don't know where else he's going to go. I'll just say, I think him going to Minnesota, I don't think it's off the table quite yet.
When we come back, Cole, on the other side of the break, the ACC tournament bracket is set. Who will Clemson likely face in their first matchup? How deep do we think they would go in this ACC tournament? And some really interesting knowledge that our friend and a guest on our show recently, Evan Miyakawa, dropped on his website about just why Clemson has been able to stay so dominant and so consistent all season long. We'll talk about that next. Cole, would you consider yourself more of a visual learner or more of like an audible learner? Do you see things better? Do you read tables of information? Do you like graphics? What kind of catches your attention and sticks the best?
Very much so visual.
Very much so visual,
Yeah,
which
visual.
is why a lot of our Tolos, and I know you already do, so I'm not telling you anything you don't already know here. You should be following Evan Miyakawa, Mia, on Twitter. He posts a ton of great graphics all over his social media, Cole. I'm staring at one right now. Which teams have the best depth? And what he's trying to gauge here is the difference, the drop-off between the best player on the team and the 8th best player on the team. So the most impactful and 8th most impactful. And I'm looking right now at the top 40 teams in college basketball. Of course, Duke is essentially off the charts when it comes to how good their 8th best player is, Malik Brown, as compared to Cooper Flagg. Malik Brown is basically better than the best player that plays on Memphis.
Yep.
So the 8th best player at Duke is better than the best player at Memphis. And what he's showing here is which teams rely most on their starters and which teams can get the best out of their depth. And when you look at Clemson on this graphic, Cole, they're kind of what we already thought about Clemson. They're kind of right in the middle when it comes to how good they are from their most impactful player to their 8th most impactful player, which, by the way, that spread is between Victor Locken and Chauncey Wiggins. And how many times have we talked about Chauncey Wiggins and his ability to come in and give you somewhere between 7 and 14 points a night? When you're getting 14 points potentially out of your 8th best player on the roster, you tend to have a lot of success.
You do, and it's interesting you bring that up because I don't know if you remember this or not. Let's go back in time a month ago. I think I said on this show a month ago that as good as Clemson is, my worry, my concern with them in the month of March is what? Depth, the D word, right? Like if they get into a track meet, and they already beat Duke, so I know they've beaten the number 1 team in the country. I get it. Clemson's a really, really good team. But still to this day, and even so 1 month ago, Diesel, if I have to place an area of concern or find – rather an area of concern, which, by the way, is difficult to do because of how good they are. But I think that still would be my area, is what you just brought up, because when you talk about teams having depth, let's just take South Carolina women's basketball, for example. They outscore teams every game, Diesel, from the bench.
That's because South Carolina's lineup is absolutely ludicrous
It's
with how
ridiculous.
good it is, and you don't see that as much in men's college basketball, not so much stockpiling all of the talent. See,
No.
I would go the opposite of what you just said. I wouldn't say they have a problem with depth. I would say that most of their players on the team are all impact players to the point where nobody ever really stands out and can give you that, oh my God, jaw-dropping performance that a Cooper Flagg or a Janai Broom or a Joseph Turner from Houston will give you.
So my worry would be, to my point, if Clemson in the tournament goes against a team, Diesel, who is getting the most out of their top 5, but has 1 or 2 players explode from the bench. It doesn't happen every game, but it can happen. If they run up against a team where a 6th or 7th or even an 8th man goes for 12, goes for 15, and the other guy goes for 9, does Clemson have anybody that's going to be able to match that from the starting 5 or from the bench? Again, I don't think it's a huge area of concern. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack because Clemson's so good. But if I have to find one area, I think I would say, look, at some point, that might be a concern. It might not be, though, because they're really good. They're starting 5, to your point. I mean, Evan Miyakawa said what? Their starting 5 is the best starting 5 in the country.
Yeah.
So that says something.
So if you look at the tournament draw and how this is going to stack up, Duke, number 1, will be taking on 4-seed Wake Forest, probably. And you have number 2, Louisville, facing off against number 3, Clemson. That's again, what we know already in the quarterfinals of the bracket. A lot has to happen to get us to that point.
Yeah.
But if you simply go 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be Duke, Wake, and then Louisville, Clemson. I think that's a tragedy to put Clemson on the 3 line. They should be on the 2 line. I don't see how they put Louisville on the 2 line over them. I just wonder, Cole, given the draw that Clemson has coming their way, it'll be Florida State, Syracuse. That's the 11-14 matchup. The winner of that game will face the number 8 seed SMU. Clemson will face the winner of that one, likely going to be SMU. And they handled SMU on the road just, 2 weeks ago. That's when it starts to get interesting. They'll be facing, at that point, probably Louisville. And the number 2, number 3 matchup. Any concerns with Clemson's ability to match up well against Louisville? I don't think so.
They lost to them, but that was a different team, right?
Sure.
Clemson's playing so well early in the season. Diesel, I think
Victor was sick.
Victor was sick. He had a 3 or 4 game stretch where he just wasn't right. Remember, to answer your question, I don't think there are many teams in this tournament that Clemson matches up poorly against. Duke, I think we'll get Clemson if they play again. I do. Right now, Cal and Virginia Tech, just so you know, are knotted up at 14 in the first round of the ACC tournament. Notre Dame did defeat Pitt 55-54, and then tonight at 7, Syracuse and Florida State. I think they match up well. P. Digit says Louisville ate Clemson's lunch last time they played. You're right, and so did South Carolina, P. Digit. So,
I mean, is a 10-point loss on the road at a hostile environment really eating somebody's lunch?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But again, my point is they also lost to South Carolina. So what happens once doesn't define who you are. I think they match up very well. And Diesel, I guess to answer your question, the last thing I'd say is they'd have to have an off night, right?
Sure.
They just have to play poorly, which
But
could
they're
happen.
so consistent.
They are.
That's one of the hallmarks of this team is they are consistent night in and night out. They'll get 4 starters in double digits. They'll probably get Chauncey Wiggins off the bench to give you 8 to 10 points as well.
Also consistent. The South Carolina High School League, consistently bad. Speaking of the high school league, in the very next segment, I teased this earlier in the show. Scott Early, the executive director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association, which is separate from the high school league, joins the show to talk about potentially some very big news regarding the dissolvement, maybe, of the South Carolina High School League. We'll get into that next. Hour number 3 of the show coming right at you on the Fan Upstate 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville. Anywhere in the world on the free Odyssey app. You can also watch the show 199 in the stream right now. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is where you can watch the show. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. We are going to now bring in Scott Early, the executive director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association. Scott, appreciate you hopping on as always. We've had you on before, but the reason we have you on today is there is the potential for some big-time news, as there is a bill in the state that could impact the South Carolina High School League. I did briefly tease this earlier in the show, but for those who just tuned in, I posted it on Twitter. You guys have as well. And for those who just tuned in, can you bring us up to speed on what exactly is happening and what could happen?
Well, I mean, Lou probably said it best today with a quote. I mean, I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, the chances of this bill passing is slim to none, but it's a good thing that, you know, somebody decided, I guess they wanted to stir the pot again, but you do gotta make sure that you reach out to your legislators and let them know, you know, your thoughts on this, because that's how things get started in that world, you know, whether it's in the same neighborhood or playing on the same AU team, or, you know, one or two constituents is displeased about what's going on in their particular situation, and that leads to, you know, looks like legislators getting together and, you know, sometimes misery loves company, I think, and they just get together and come up with an idea that would impact the athletes and coaches and administrators and people that have dealt with athletics in this state in a major way, and not a positive major way.
You know, Scott, no organization is ever perfect, right? Nobody bats 1,000, and there will always be decisions that come down that, you know, that disproportionately benefit one side and negatively affect the other side. So for those who are maybe fed up with the South Carolina High School League, and there are those who are out there who are doing it, what do you think, can you point to a few examples, maybe the most impactful examples, otherwise we'd be here all day, of things that the South Carolina High School League, as currently constructed, is doing really, really well that could be in danger if this bill were to pass?
Well, the first thing for me to even start to answer that is that most people don't understand, I don't think, how this thing really works. The body, the members, the 222 schools that are members of the high school league are the people, principals, superintendents, the people in the state that have said for years, hey, we vote to have the high school league run high school athletics in an unbiased way in the state of South Carolina. Well, you know, you got to think about that. You're not going to make everybody happy, but the body chooses to entrust running high school league in an unbiased manner. And what they're wanting to do is take the body's opinion totally out of it. And, you know, when you do that, then, I mean, it would be the equivalent of taking your car to the dentist to have the oil changed. I mean, that's where we're at with this bill.
Scott, you mentioned a minute ago that you don't think it'll get passed. Why do you say that?
Well, because, you know, we got enough common sense folk. I was just at Capitol last Wednesday for all day for Tomorrow's 25 being honored and Coaches versus Overdoses. And you know, any organization, you're going to have some radical opinions, but, you know, we've got enough people in there with a backbone and common sense to know that, hey, the high school league may need to change. You know, it may need to be tweaked. Things might need to change, but this is definitely not the way to do it. And then on top of that, it would end up falling under the Department of Education. Well, when the federal Department of Education is wiped out in a couple of weeks and it all falls back on the state, I would think where we're ranked in education, they'd have a lot more things important to worry about than who won between, you know, Christchurch or Woodruff or Oceanside or North Charleston. I mean, I just, or who's on probation, or how to even govern or navigate through all that minutia, would be the equivalent of you taking your car into the dentist to have the oil change.
Joined by Scott Early, Executive Director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association. How would coaches and administrators and school board members make their voices heard under this new system? The way what we have now, it sounds like they are all part of the collaborative process to make rules and change rules and weigh in on things. So if this were to pass, do they have any voice whatsoever?
Well, they can prevent it from reaching out to the legislators, but the way a bill's written, I mean, we're going to post the original copy here shortly. It's full of word salad and minutia and legalities, and not many coaches are going to take the time to read that. But when you get a layman's term, you're taking the power away from the body, which is the 222. So if the body decides they don't want their own Dr. Singleton, or they don't want the high school league, we have a process we go through in March coming up here where that could easily be done, but that's not the case. I mean, these people that are doing this are experts in high school athletics, and with what's coming this way with free transfer and everybody builds an all-star team and everybody's got to get a trophy. We better have the strongest leadership we've ever had with the wisdom, knowledge, and experience to make these decisions. If we don't, we will suffer like a lot of states are now. And all the states that have tried to do this, including our counterpart in North Carolina, they've done it and made a big stink about it and then turned around and give it back to them and said, oh, no, we don't want this. So why step back and, waste your time taking a setback to figure out that, oh, this ain't a good idea. We can't do this. There's a little more to it than meets the eye, especially in today's world.
So the bill is Bill H.4163, the three key provisions. Number one, the bill seeks to dissolve the South Carolina High School League and replace it with a newly created state athletics association. Number two, state control. And number three, loss of local control. Do you think, whether this passes or whether it does not pass, Scott, do you think that maybe, just maybe, this would send a message to the South Carolina High School League that regardless of if this is or isn't the right move, people are fed up. People do want to change. Do you think that will send that message at all or no?
Well, I think first of all, you got to consider the source. So first of all, who's that message coming from? And, it's just like anything in life. 10% of the people that are more vocal than the 90. So I don't necessarily – I would – first of all, I'll answer your question. First of all, I would consider the source. Second of all, it's the body's job to do that. So the people that won't change need to start at the school level and with superintendents and principals and let the body carry that message to the assembly. It shouldn't be the other way around, because at the end of the day, they're not the people that are making those decisions. And at any time, the body could choose to make any adjustment to the high school league, whether it's have a new director, whether it's improve it, or whether it's totally go in another direction. But at this point, that's probably 90-10. I mean, you're always going to have outliers, but that's not the view of the people that are in the trenches, on the front grounds, coaching and teaching these kids. And it would be like what's happening in education. Ask a teacher, like, do you have control of what you teach or your classroom? No. We're told by the district, we're micromanaged by our curriculum coordinator, and we're told what to teach, how to teach it to pass these tests. Well, imagine being a coach or an athletic director running athletics and being micromanaged to that degree. I mean, it would fail miserably. And I don't think people really take the time to think about how dramatic of a change that would be.
Yeah, Scott, real quick, not to debate what you said, but you're saying consider the source. Would you say that you think most people are happy with the leadership of the high school league?
I don't think there's any way to make everybody happy, and I think, yes, there is some voices out there that need to be heard. And again, should there be change, some adjustments, maybe some changes with the exec committee or the appellate panel, or maybe even in leadership or whatever that might be. But to dismantle the high school league and turn it over to somebody who has never in their life done that, would be ludicrous.
Scott, it kind of reminds me of what might happen if the NCAA decided to suddenly went poof, disappear. Somebody new was going to have to figure out how to manage all of the various parts and parcels of managing athletics. So, I mean, it's pretty clear by our conversation so far that you're very much against this bill being passed. To play devil's advocate here for just a moment, do you see any possible benefits coming out of the bill if it were passed?
Well, I mean, I think, anytime something dramatic happens like this, it helps to create change, whether that's positive or negative. It gets people at the high school league's attention. It gets people, it gets coaches and ADs and administrators and people that are entrusted to lead and educate. But at the end of the day, athletics is still an extracurricular activity that's in high school, interscholastic. That's pretty much still pure, and we're not getting paid yet. And the trickle down theory, it's coming, but we can do a lot just to not panic and have really strong, good leadership in what's going to be a very trying time when it comes to high school athletics.
And for the record, Scott, I agree with you on the politicalization of it. I don't think it should be politicized in terms of the high school sports and high school athletics as a whole. But let me ask you this. You mentioned the schools being the body of the high school league, and if they want change, they can go and represent themselves. Look, I get it. There's a lot of things the high school league does that's good. I think, just my opinion, I think there's a lot more they do that's ludicrous, that doesn't make sense, than there is that's good. But if the members aren't happy, can the members go as far as demanding new leadership, or is that not possible?
Well, the body can go as far as hiring another entity to be the unbiased, police and litigator and rule maker of the state of the state of South Carolina high school athletics. I mean, yes, it could go that far.
Scott, growing up, you, me, I don't know about Cole because he's a little younger than both of us. We all took, social studies and we took civics, and it feels like this kind of echoes basically how American government should work. And one of the, I guess, probably the downsides of that is sometimes change does come slowly. And if that's maybe a gripe that some people who don't have supreme confidence in the South Carolina High School League, that may be one of their potential reasons for supporting this bill, is that it would maybe streamline processes and make things move a little bit faster. On the flip side of that, I mean, would you see the possibility of a lot more volatility in quick decision making and, kind of wishy-washy depending on exactly who is part of this potential new governing body of, switching back decisions? We're going to do it this way for a couple of years, and then we're going to do that way for a couple of years, and we're going to do this way, and then we're going to do that way.
I mean, I think that you could, start with the body, start with all the schools and teach people that, in the time we're in athletics, for it to thrive and get better and flourish in a difficult time, first thing we need to do is put down all our in common differences in one another and come together for a greater cause. I think that's vital. That's number one. Number two is to have some people like the Jackie Hayes, Mike Anthony, people like that, run for office and get elected, where athletics has a better understanding, a better voice, a better advocate for, what happens. I mean, that's about, in my opinion, the only pure thing we got left in the world today. And I don't want to see anything happen to it by some, knee-jerk reaction or harebrained idea. I mean, it needs to be carefully thought out, prepared, and planned, and be carried out by, an effective leader with a great vision and a passion for student athletes and coaches and athletic directors and administrators around our state.
Scott Early joining us right here on the Fan Upstate, the executive director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association. Scott, when you look at other states, we briefly mentioned other states earlier in the interview, but I think you mentioned North Carolina or maybe another state who tried this at one time. Who do you think, though, from your time, your experience, what state do you look at and from a total body of work when it comes to the governing body that's over the state athletics, what state do you think is doing it right?
A lot of them. Texas, Georgia, Washington State. When being in this job and traveling and going to NOCAD and conferences and being in Albuquerque and Texas and other places, you sort of that's one thing I want to do when I took this job is go learn to see how the best do it. From my standpoint, that would be, what I've discovered. And I think the key to what they do is they don't make any excuses for what they do, and they don't try to make everybody happy. They try to be fair, stern, loyal, and let the body and the schools determine, how they really want this thing to be governed. And I don't know that, we have people that realize they have a voice that's that strong or want to use it, but to see something like this get started and maybe get some legs. I mean, it's another reminder that, and you just think about it, in our lifetime, everything we deal with has changed except public education. Students still go sit in the classroom on a bell and take all these subjects, and that, that needs to be changed. And when athletics needs to be changed, but I don't think we need to start all over. I mean, that's too much too fast with not a plan. That's, sometimes I wish I could take the politics out of the politicians and maybe it would be better, but I'm like anybody else. It's just my opinion. You just happen to ask for it.
Scott, can you give us a sense of the timeline on how events in this subject are going to unfold?
I don't know the timeline on that. I just found out about this bill. I think on the 6th. I mean, I was there on the 5th, and then I actually, to be honest with you, didn't give it much thought and sort of ignored it and thought, this is never going anywhere. And now it seems to be, grabbing some steam. But I think a lot of that steam is created by people who like to talk and the media. And, obviously social media has given everybody the right to voice their opinion. And, I think sometimes that hurts sometimes. And I think in this situation, it's, maybe created a mountain out of a molehill, as we used to say from the country.
Yeah. Scott, before we let you go, my last question for you. I say this tongue-in-cheek, kind of joking, kind of not joking. Well, what does it take to get Scott Early as the commissioner of the high school league so we can get this thing on track?
Well,
don't laugh at that. Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
Well, first of all, Scott Early didn't want to leave the field because, things were really good. But I knew if I didn't take this job, it wouldn't come on again for 20 years. And I have moved around from time to time, but I'd just like to settle in and do the best job I can for the over 8,000 members of the SCACA.
So you never thought about it, not one time?
Well, I try to just live one day at a time. I don't think about hypotheticals. I let other people do that for me.
That's our job, right?
Yeah, that's your job. Yes, it is. It is. But I do appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you caring. I mean, the thing about it is high school athletics is so competitive and so passionate, and I think a lot of times how emotions get involved in Lexington versus River Bluff, emotions also get involved in let's get rid of the high school league and start all over and put somebody in charge that has never done this before. And I don't think that's the answer, but I think somewhere there's a happy medium.
So, Scott, how do our listeners, just regular people, parents with kids competing in athletics, how do they get involved? Do they need to reach out directly to their local school boards, their principals, their athletic directors, so that they can all get a sense of what the parents who are inside of their area and sending their students to their schools, how they feel about it? How do they get involved?
Well, I mean, we have a parliamentary procedure every single year. The second week in March, we're fixing to go. I think we leave Sunday, and it's next week. And that parliamentary procedure is I think the way it should be done, and that's the way it's done. And the way to get the ball rolling is tell your school, and then your school tells your region, and then we all sort of get on the same page, and then the body shows the control that it does have. And I don't think the public or the body have ever really known they're in that position. And because a lot of things in this world is vague, and people have a hard time just looking people eye in the and telling the truth, but that's the truth. So that's the truth.
Scott, we appreciate you, man. You're the best, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed rest of your evening.
You too. Scott Early, the executive director of the South Carolina High School Coaches Association. He's right.
Very strong opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I love him. He's the best. And I mean that. I wish he was the commissioner. I like Scott a lot.
And look, that's a concern that I've had with everybody who wants to dissolve the NCAA. As many problems as the NCAA has, and they are numerous, now you're going to take all of the minutia and everything that the NCAA is responsible for managing, and you're going to plop it on a new governing body. So, like, what benefit does that really give you to take it out of one group of people wearing business suits and ties hands and putting it in another group of people wearing business suits and ties hands?
And again, I want to be very clear. I have always said that we need new leadership in the high school league. I have not said we need to abolish the high school league. There's a big difference. I still think we need to get some better leadership. I'd love to see Scott there, but really good stuff. Appreciate him.
When we come back, Cole, I want to ask you, the Tolos at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Do you have the kind of workplace where you can prank your coworkers? Tell you about one that went terribly wrong and ask you to answer that question. You ever pull pranks on your coworkers? That's next on the Fan Upstate. talking shenanigans in this segment here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. And we go to the phone lines to someone who I guarantee you has shenaniganed before. Tom in Somerville. Are you a prankster, Tom? Do you try to get one over on your coworkers? Because I'd be shocked if you said no.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't?
Yeah, of course. Now, are you like a mean prankster, or do you like kind of just the innocent pranks that make people look silly?
It depends on the day.
Okay. Give me some insight here.
Well, it depends.
Tom, you still there? Okay.
The one time this coworker of mine made me so mad, and he had this big plate of food. So I went in there and I ate his steak and potatoes.
Ooh, that's
he made me mad.
That's
so I ate his food.
Yeah, I would be upset if you ate my steak and potatoes, no doubt. What's up, Tom? What's on your mind, man?
I just wanted to call real quick because I got to say that basketball game last night was hands down one of the best basketball games I have watched in a very long time. And I need to say this as well. You know, y'all were just talking about the South Carolina High School League, and, you know, all you ever hear about the South Carolina High School League is how poorly it is run. And much like the old Furman Paladins, whose dream and aspirations are over, I think it's time to say the same about the South Carolina High School League. We can finally, hopefully, move on from that garbage organization. They do something completely different, and I think it'll help the state of South Carolina high school sports be much better all around. I think this is a great step forward, and I hope that this gets passed because it'll help a lot of people in this state.
And Tom Scott, who we had on from the Coaches Association, and a few others I've talked to, said it probably will not get passed. Look, my whole thing, Tom, is I don't know that we need to abolish the high school league. I just think we need new leadership.
And that would be a big part of it. It's just, you know, I don't know a whole lot about all the ins and outs, but all I know is for a very long time, all you hear about when you hear about the high school league in this state is how poorly it's run and how poorly the leadership is.
Yeah.
So I think it is time to do something different. And, you know, other than that was a very good interview. I think, you know, it was very insightful. So I appreciate y'all having him on. And as always, you know, it's always great to see Furman lose. My granddad was a Wofford grad. He was number one in his class. So I always like to see Wofford do well.
Number one in his class at Wofford?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. There may have only been about 15 people in the class. But, you know,
hey, number one is number one.
That's right.
That's right.
What's your
congrats to Wofford. You know, their fans deserve that, and hopefully they can win a game in the tournament.
All right, Tom, we appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. We'll hear from you real soon. Now we go to the phone lines and we bring on somebody, Cole, who I can't tell if he gives out the swirlies or if he gets the swirlies. We have Dewey on the line. Dewey wants to chime in. What's up, Dewey?
Yes, I give out the swirlies when I was in high school, but some kid tried to give me a swirly, I beat the brakes off of him.
I'm sure.
After that, no one ever tried to give me a swirly again because I got suspended for that.
Dewey, could you lift somebody by their ankles up by yourself, or did you need help?
I can lift them up. But
strong man.
No, I didn't have help. I used one hand. One hand.
Strong man.
And I beat the brakes off of him. Y'all brought up bad memories. Now I'm getting angry.
What, Dewey? What's wrong with you today? It's a Tuesday. It's a beautiful day outside.
Yeah, it's too beautiful outside. I'd rather it be raining.
Oh, my God.
But anyway, I had a couple comments. Wofford, Furman, good game. I listened to it on the fan. FM.
Love it.
Because I don't have a TV, so I had to listen to it. And I got to say, I'm glad Furman lost because now y'all don't have no excuse to get off of work early no more.
Calling us lazy. Can you believe that, Cole?
Well, Dewey, that's coming from you. You've never worked a day in your life.
Well, but anyways, the SEC tournament's coming up,
Yeah.
and I hope whatever his name is, Parrish, Lamont Parrish, draw some inspiration from Don Staley. But I think they will, and they're going to win the SEC tournament and get into the other tournament, and then they'll lose there. And Clemson, they're going to lose their first round of their ACC tournament, and they're going to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament when they play Wofford.
Oh,
God.
how did I know?
How did
I know that it was coming?
Only Dewey, man. Only you can't make that stuff up.
You realize how strong you have to be to lift somebody up from their ankles by yourself, one-handed? Cole, he's
Dewey
he's
is
telling us he's got like
bodybuilder,
gorilla
yeah.
strength.
Yeah.
You know, it's a strong dude.
Texter says Tom would get punched in the face at my work if he ate somebody's food on purpose. Tells me a lot about the guy.
Interesting call. So I've been known to pull a prank or two, but like nowadays, like everybody's so sensitive, you can't do that stuff anymore.
Especially
like,
never mind. No, yeah, no.
Oh.
No. Keep going.
No, I've got two that I think I'm really proud of, Cole. My favorite is you know that coffee machine dispenser that we have downstairs?
I do. Yeah.
It's like a big box. It's got an array of K-cups in it, and you gotta put your quarter in, and you type in the number, and it revs up, and it spits your K-cup out. Well, when we first got that thing, I put a little note on it, and it didn't even look close to like official or real. But I put a little note on it, just printed it out on a piece of regular printer paper and cut it out, taped it to the top of that thing. And I said, this dispenser is voice activated.
No.
So all you need to do is put in your quarter and then say your selection out loud, loudly and firmly, and it will dispense your cup of coffee. And our sales manager at the time, stood there and tried it 3 times. I had one of our coworkers who saw me putting this thing on there. She's like, nobody's going to fall for this, right? I said, watch. She came down to my office like a half an hour later, and like she was doubled over, side hurting.
Yeah.
Because our sales manager was trying to talk to the coffee dispenser.
You know what? That's a good prank.
It's like nobody got hurt. Maybe
No,
she got her
good
feelings
prank.
hurt, or maybe she just thought the machine wasn't working right.
Basically, what you did was you put a sign up to see how dumb people were.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
it
you
works.
did. It worked. That's a really good prank. I look. I'm with you. I love pranks at places I've worked in the past. I've pulled pranks. However, to your point, you're exactly right. People are so sensitive. People are so soft. If you do something, if something's in the studio or in a workplace and it's not normal and how they're used to it being, it's a fiasco. You can't do anything nowadays because you'll get called into the boss's office. People are it's a soft generation. That's all I can say.
Tolos, text and call 844-326-3663. Office pranks. Have you pulled a workplace prank? How does your office deal with those workplace pranks? This one, Cole, went awry, you could say. This is audio from a police, I guess, liaison, Jason McKnight of Madisonville, Kentucky, who is speaking about an office prank at the Lando Frost plant. Lando Frost makes deli meats.
Okay.
And so they have a lot of sheet pans and things like that that need to be sanitized. Well, they sanitize their sheet pans in these giant steam rooms. They get up to like 200 degrees. And this guy decided, I'm going to prank my coworker by locking her into this steam room at 200 degrees with chemicals floating around everywhere. This is the police, not chief, but the person that talks to the media from this local police department talking about what happened.
Our understanding is up to 200 degrees the room can get up to when it's closed. And so at some point, the two of them were talking about how the one could shut the other one in there, and obviously he did. And so when he pushed her in there, he started the machine. At this point, I don't want to speculate on exactly why he did it. It was just joking around, even though that's not really a good joke. We charged him accordingly. She was put in there against her will, locked in, and so.
So
He said it's not a good joke, by the way.
no, not a good joke. Saunas get between 150 and 195 degrees, so that would be like the high end of how hot a sauna gets.
I'm a sauna guy.
I don't want to picture how Cole gets into a sauna. Because
Naked.
I didn't need to picture.
Well, you
that.
asked him. I mean,
I know
how
I
else
didn't.
would you get in?
I didn't need that. You could say I go in there with towel on,
No.
or I go in there with my swim trunks on from Billabong.
No, I love a. Have you ever been in a sauna?
I have been into a sauna. I hate saunas.
They're
hate
my
saunas.
favorite thing.
Ugh.
You know what I do?
Do you really think you like sweat out the chemicals and the impurities in your body?
I think I don't know what it does for you. It may do a lot of great things. It may not do anything, but I love it. I do it every Saturday.
I think it's like more. It cooks your brain, so you come out of there feeling a little high because your brain's not supposed to get that hot.
I think it gets. I do think it makes you sweat to the point where it's almost like a cleansing. I love it.
I don't know
I
about
do
that.
them. Saturday is my sauna day. I do them once. I'm serious. That thing gets hot, man. I'll get in there for 25, 30 minutes, and you're roasting. You're like a roasted peanut.
So,
I mean, that's what you are.
Side note, I tried so hard not to bust out laughing when one of our guests on the show yesterday was talking about how.
Wait, what?
He was one of our guests.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
the second Chris.
Oh,
he was talking. I asked him like what his favorite thing on the concourse is, and he was talking about the nut roaster, and he said something to the effect of you got to come in here and get your hands on these nuts.
You know what?
And that's my maturity. I should get a medal for that. Okay,
I think
did not
I do
bust out
remember
laughing.
him saying that. Now that you say that, it does. But you can't describe eating nuts and it not sound weird. I mean, it's
right.
If
you're gonna eat, if you've got a bag of nuts,
yeah.
if you got a sack of nuts, where do you eat them, Cole? You put those nuts in your mouth.
You and I both
how you
ate
do it.
nuts at the Clemson South Carolina game. Remember?
I don't know what you're talking about. Again, a sauna can get up to 190 degrees. I was curious. It's like, well, NASCAR drivers do this every single week,
Oh,
right?
that's a good point. In the fire
NASCAR
jacket.
cockpits get up to 160 degrees, so a little bit warmer than a NASCAR race car, a little bit warmer than your standard sauna. So I don't really know what the big deal is. The problem, Cole, is not for the guy whose name was Barrett Cortina. The problem is going to be for this Lando Frost company that investigators said that there was actually a second door in this sanitizing sauna room. The problem is someone had stacked pallets in front of the escape door so that this lady couldn't get out. She is going to sue Lando Frost for so much stinking money because their safety inspectors didn't notice that the escape door was blocked.
So she's the one that, in the long run, is going to come out on top.
She's going to be stupid rich.
So it's worth it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's also chemicals in there, too.
Yeah,
it's
but
not just steam.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it's chemical, no big deal.
It's not just steam. Like, look, I mean, you know what's sad, Cole, is we do have, we have April Fools coming up, and I'm not making this up, Tolos. You need to know this. We get emails every April 1st, actually it's like the last week of March, reminding us you cannot pull April Fool's pranks on your shows.
Except I won't be here this April Fool's.
Well, who's the April Fool? It's me, because I'll be here working.
No, I'm April Fool's.
But we're not allowed to do it. Like, that's the climate that we live in. We're not allowed to prank people and have fun anymore. Not in that way, at least.
No, it's sad. We live in a weird society. Really weird. It's strange. People are in their... I'll tell you what. If I had a dime for as many times in my life on a daily basis, I notice, people getting their feelings too much. I'd be rich.
I got in big trouble for a second prank that I pulled. I put an out-of-order sign on the upstairs bathrooms once that said, these bathrooms are out of order, go downstairs. I put signs on the downstairs bathrooms that said, these bathrooms are out of order, use the upstairs bathrooms. It caused, well, she doesn't work here anymore, Lisa from WORD, to miss a segment and a live read, and they were pissed.
Ooh, I can imagine so.
But it's like that's another one of those pranks. Nobody got hurt. We have an elevator. We have stairs. She's fine.
Yeah, but it's the cash cow station. You know, whatever happens on that station, we got to follow suit.
Yeah, that's true.
Daily Wire's top headlines in sports. That's next. JB on the YouTube stream checking in with a Tolo. What's up, JB? 224 right now. How about that, Diesel? 224 Tolos.
We big timing.
I love it. I love to see those twos up there on the stream. You can watch the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube every single day, except for yesterday. But most days you can watch the show. And we do a segment every day where we give you the top stories happening in the world of sports. It's the Daily Wires.
Bzz.
The Cardinals are expected to sign quarterback Jacoby Brissett. Backup option there. Just got that across my phone a few minutes ago. Also, in case you missed it, the Wofford Terriers are going dancing. I don't know what you prefer, Diesel, for your dancing shoes, but the Terriers have to pick theirs out. Wofford defeated Furman last night by a score of 92-85. Big win.
Gigantic event, 6,300 people in attendance. You know, looking around the photos, the videos that you posted, and what they were showing live on TV, there might not have been 200 empty seats in that building.
No.
I mean, it was packed.
Hey, did the TV show the shot way up of the Wofford students? Did they ever show that on TV?
I think they did, yeah.
It was, I've got to give credit, man, where credit's due. And Furman, to both, Furman and Wofford students showed up and showed out. They were incredible. They were so loud. Obviously, the Wofford students got the last laugh, but that was really awesome. The Houston Texans are trading for Philadelphia Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson in exchange for left guard Kenyon Green. Sources tell ESPN the deal also includes a pick swap from the Eagles getting a 2026 fifth-round pick and the Texans getting a 2026 rounder. Gardner-Johnson's a ball hawk, 6 interceptions in 2024. And Diesel, how about this news? The New York Yankees, man, do they seem to be cursed or what? New York Yankees right-hander Garrett Cole will undergo Tommy John surgery. The team announced on Monday, ending his 2025 season before it ever began.
Oh,
That's
could
not
happen
good.
to a nicer franchise.
Oh, 100%, I'm with you there.
I feel bad for Garrett. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to see the player go down, but like shame.
Yeah,
for
it
the
happened to the Yankees. Nobody feels bad for the Yankees. You're 100% right. But, man, what a tough break. It'll sideline Cole for the 2025 season, maybe part of the 2026 season. He seeked a couple opinions, but he is having surgery today at an institute in L.A. So they said, the club said, further updates will occur post-surgery. Tough news for the New York Yankees. And to your point, nobody really is upset for them. Free agent quarterback Zach Wilson. How about this? Reached an agreement with the Miami Dolphins on a one-year, $6 million deal, fully guaranteed, that could grow to $10 million, sources told ESPN. I think some of the quarterback signings we're seeing now, Diesel, including this one, including Jacoby Brissett, are backups, right? Not starters, not starter quality players, but the backups have to have a job too, you know?
If Aaron Rodgers does sign with the Steelers,
Yeah.
is Aaron Rodgers a day one starter, or is he competing for the number one job?
With Russell Wilson?
Could Aaron Rodgers be backing up Russell Wilson?
No, I think that's a great question.
Because you just paid Russ a lot of money. Are you going to bench Russ? Are you going to trade Russ?
Diesel,
outright release him?
I think could make for some really competitive quarterback practice training.
Would it though?
I don't know.
Would it though? Two like 50-year-old
guys,
dudes
yeah.
out there throwing the pigskin around.
It'd be interesting, man.
Really competitive is maybe a stretch.
Yeah.
Kind of competitive. Maybe hit a couple of good throws. Outside of that, they're looking at the draft.
The Chiefs are signing tight end Robert Tonyan from Tom Pelissero. Breaking news just now of ESPN. We mentioned this earlier. Also breaking news today. 15-time major champion Tiger Woods underwent surgery today after rupturing his left Achilles tendon while ramping up training and practice at home. 49 years old, minimally invasive, Diesel, no Masters, obviously, for Tiger. We talked about this last year. Between the attempts at golf, the TV shows, I think Tiger just needs to fully, completely hang it up.
Yeah, he barely gets into the second round most of the time when he actually does go out and play. There's all this buildup, right, of Tiger's going to play. Sources say Tiger looks really good when he's out there in practice rounds, and then all of a sudden he gets out onto the tournament course and falls apart. What's he doing now? He's in a studio, walking around once a week, walking from this artificial tee box over to a fake green. Like, what kind of stress and strain is Tiger Woods putting on his body at this point? I mean, I understand that he's working out, that he's probably out there playing a couple rounds a week. But it's like, come on, dude. If you can't hold up to that, what do you think you're doing?
Time to hang it up, Diesel.
It is time to hang it up if you're Tiger Woods. When we come back, Cole, this is a dark story. I don't know if there's any truth to this, but it's worth bringing up. A mega NFL star is now wrapped up in the Diddy sex crimes investigation. We'll get you the latest on that next. Big move for the Carolina Panthers, Cole. They have just signed punter Sam Martin, previously on the Buffalo Bills.
The punter.
The punter.
They're back.
Sam Martin
baby.
was a 2013 fifth-round draft pick in Detroit. He was tied for the 24th most number of punts in 2024. Averaged 46.7 yards, good for 22nd in the NFL.
So he's what, 45? I'm kidding.
He's old AF.
He's old.
No, he is 35. He was born in
Jeez.
1990. Is that right? 35. So, yeah, good for you, Sam. Still
Just
getting
think,
it done.
Diesel, if you would have decided to be a punter, you'd still be in the NFL right now.
You know what? I have a system where I think you can finally determine whether or not you're old, Cole, if people who are your age are now retiring out of professional sports.
Yeah.
You know, like we as sports fans, we all envision that I could do that, right? How many people say, well, I could hit that hole. I could pick up 7 yards with that hole. No, you can't.
I'm glad you brought that up because
No, you can't.
Not to get on a tangent here because I know we got sports to get to. I'm so glad you brought that up about no, you can't.
No, you can't.
Because I said the exact same thing the other day to somebody. Diesel, Saturday, South Carolina played Oklahoma here in Greenville, right? I get to the arena about 2 hours before the game, maybe 2.5. I can't remember. Anyways, the SEC staff, a couple of people I had made friends with, were on the court shooting basketball when I got there. They said, hey, come shoot. So I went out there and shot.
Oh, no.
And with a women's ball, I was quickly reminded, for all the times we're critical of Malaysia Fulwiley missing a layup, I'm going to lay off because I suck. I mean, absolutely just look pitiful. The worst part was I got done shooting like 30 minutes later. My arm was sore. I was out of breath. I was leaned over. I couldn't walk. I mean,
that's
it was
why you're on the
pitiful.
treadmill, right?
It's pitiful. Yeah, the elephant in the room. For those on the stream that know, let me tell you what I did. I'm too fat, number one, right? Everybody knows that. I mean, I'm not like obese, but I'm not happy with my weight. Nobody is happy with their weight, are they? So I decided, Diesel, you and I sit here 4 hours a day. I said, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. So I saw on TikTok, I'm gullible, I guess, is what you, fat and gullible, right? These viral, lightweight mini treadmills all over TikTok. I bought one. And guess what? It's sitting right here in the studio.
It's right down there.
It's right. That's what. Anyways, Diesel,
Grow
I'm
up,
I'm not gonna ever do that. I'm walking on the treadmill as we speak. So what I've done is, for those out there that don't know and don't care, I've replaced my chair here in the studio with a treadmill. I'm trying to get rid of this stomach.
How many steps have you taken today?
Let's see.
Like, is there an app or something that tells you? Does anything say? Because
you told me I need an Apple Watch.
You've been walking now for 3 hours, basically at a very slow pace. What are you doing? Like 1.5, 1.6?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You probably got what, 3 dozen steps at this point? You're getting there.
But if I
slowly.
do it every day instead of my chair, that's my point.
You can have 50 steps a week.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I bought it. That's why I lugged it up here to the studio. That's why I'm walking on it. I've been walking on it since 3. I replaced my chair with a treadmill. Look, I've got to get rid of some LBs. There's no denying it. I have got to slim down.
It's going to add up over time. I'm poking fun, but
hopefully
genuinely
so.
speaking, you're gonna start just shedding the pounds.
Hopefully, as long as the treadmill's back, or it's still here
it's
when
true.
we get back tomorrow. And one more thing, not to get us off on a completely different subject, but look outside.
It's beautiful.
It's sunny. It's daylight.
Mm-hmm.
Diesel, the first show we've done since what, October?
Where it's sunny and warm. Because we've had sunny.
But it's usually dark by now.
Well, that's also true.
That's what I'm saying. Daylight savings time.
We need to.
We lost an hour, right?
We need to hear I'm still struggling with this time change. I mean, I love having sunshine this time of day, but this springing forward thing sucks. Costing us an hour sucks. Look, President Trump has done a lot with executive orders in his first couple of months in office. Donald, baby, Bubala, I know you listen to the show.
Yeah, he does.
Please, for all of us, standardize daylight savings time being on. Like what we have now, make that the same everywhere. It's too confusing that like Arizona doesn't do it. It's confusing with this spring forward, fall back. Gaining an extra hour of sleep one time in the fall is not worth all of the BS of it getting dark at like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. Donnie, can we make it happen? Can I make that request? Like you're putting Pete Rose, you're trying to get Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. You're making all these executive decisions. Like this is the one, bro. Like, if you want to get everyone on your side, this is the one.
No, it is. And you know what else about it? When we drive home tonight, when I get on lovely I-85, it's daylight from now until October.
At least you get the sun at your back and you don't have to drive into the sun all the way home.
I love it. I'm so happy.
Whoever in Atlanta decided let's make I-85 go due west into the sun in rush hour traffic can go straight to hell because that was a terrible decision. One more thing I think, Cole, that the president could do is mandating getting the television. You remember that old television they would put on the cart and they would roll it and they would put a strap over it so it didn't fall over? Rolling that into the classroom, Cole, because the ACC tournament is on. The SEC tournament is going to be on. We need to hear from Christy Mann, Gamecock fan and resident teacher on the show. We need to find out from her if she is bringing a television into her classroom to show the SEC or ACC tournaments in her classrooms. We need to know that from other Tolo teachers as well. Text in 844-326-3663. But the conversation that I teased, Cole, coming into this break took us 8 minutes to get there, but that's okay. You got 6 or 7 steps in since we did that. Yep. Odell Beckham Jr. and comedian Drewski, real name Drew DeBoards. Is that right? DeBoards?
I don't know.
I think that's how you say it. Were added to a lawsuit in the Diddy sex crimes investigation. They have both denied any involvement in the scandal. OBJ was released from the what was he? He was with the Dolphins, I think. Released from the Dolphins in 2024 in December. He has not signed with the team, so still currently a free agent. This certainly hurts his ability to sign a deal with anyone. I know OBJ is older. I don't know how many teams still think OBJ has a ton left to get out there and play, but it's like it feels like somebody would take a chance on him, right? You feel like somebody would. But in an amendment filed on Friday of last week, both Beckham and Drewski are accused of violently raping a woman named Ashley Parham at Diddy's friend's Orinda, California home in March of 2018. Quote, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began, I can't read this word on the air, doing things to himself while recording the plaintiff's rape. So Drewski, OBJ, and Diddy are 3 of more than a dozen defendants named in Ashley Parham's lawsuit, which was originally filed back in October in California.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's why a lot of these guys that rise to such power of whether they're a comedian or whatever it is, that's why you don't put your faith in people. I mean, like people worship these famous people, and you shouldn't do. It's awful. That's what it is. It's awful.
And Drewski, this is not his entire defense, but he said basically, look, man, I wasn't even famous in 2018. Like I didn't know Diddy. I didn't know people like that in 2018. 7 years ago, I was a nobody in 2018. So he's saying that he, wasn't even there because he wasn't famous enough to be at one of these wild Diddy sex parties. But OBJ would have been. So we'll see how this continues to play out. Look, I don't know. We were in a climate where people automatically believed the accuser. Now it seems like we're in a climate where things are maybe coming back more towards a state of neutrality in which you hear these big-time accusations being made, and maybe it's because it's a sports star, like an old washed-up sports star, and not some like famous A-list Hollywood actor right now. But the investigation will do its thing, the court case will do its thing, and then we'll find out eventually down the line if there's any truth to this allegation. But for
bad
Odell and for Drewski, I hope that she was mistaken. I hope that she maybe misidentified them and that they are not going to be caught up in this whole thing. So, again, Tolos, do we have any Tolos who are teachers? Are you showing the NCAA tournament? Are you showing the SEC or ACC tournaments in your classrooms? If you are, you're doing the right thing. You're winning. Keep it up. I know that yesterday, one of my longtime buddies took his son out of school early to take him up to the Furman-Wofford game.
Yeah.
Great parenting.
Yeah, this is good.
Great job by you, Jason. I know that you and your son had a great time up there. They are adopted Furman fans. Jason grew up a Clemson fan.
Oh, there's still time to switch, Jason. I know.
What happened, Cole? I think I gave him some tickets to a Furman basketball game or something. And I think they had like won a VIP experience or something, and fell in love with what they do at Furman. So the fact that it's closer than getting down to Clemson, it's less expensive to buy tickets and go to games than it is to go to Clemson games. He kind of fell in love with the people that operate things for Furman and how they take care of people. So it's a very grassroots way to become a fan of a school. Cole, last thing I want to talk about here in this segment is we have just a couple of minutes left. Do you think that Wofford, having won the SOCON tournament, and they are going to the NCAA tournament no matter what, there is no changing this. Do you think Wofford, a team that had a decent regular season, not a great regular season, but decent, a plus 500 regular season, is better equipped than who is it, Chattanooga, that won the SOCON regular season to actually go and win a tournament game for the Southern Conference? We hear this idea floated every now and again that conferences are looking at maybe sending their regular season champ to the NCAA tournament rather than their conference tournament champ, which in theory, again, puts a better team in the tournament and gives you a better chance to go win a tournament game, which earns you money for the conference. So, like, what should be done in these one-bid leagues that, unfortunately, seemingly will never get a second bid, no matter what they do, no matter how good they look or how deep they look? Should conferences want to send their regular season champs?
Diesel, I think that's a tough question. I believe the team that wins the SOCON tournament's the best team. Did Chattanooga have a better regular season? Sure. Did Furman have a better regular season? Sure. But guess what? What do we talk about so many times in basketball? I asked Coach Anderson of Greenville, who you'll hear from in just a few minutes. I asked Coach Perry of Wofford the same thing. When it comes to basketball and tournaments and postseason success, it's more about who's playing better at the right time. For example, here locally, Dorman went on a really nice run in the postseason. Burns, they won one game and got eliminated in the second round. Burns had the best regular season, 21, 22, something like that, straight regular season wins. But guess what? They weren't playing their best basketball in the postseason. Wofford's playing their best basketball in the postseason. So to answer your question, I think Wofford is the best team in the SOCON. I know Chattanooga might, people say, well, Chattanooga's a better team. They have a better overall resume, better players. I get it. But Wofford won the tournament.
Well, okay, so let's put these two side by side. And again, I promise you, I'm not trying to take anything away from Coach Perry's team and the win that Wofford picked up last night. An absolutely fantastic game.
Yeah.
But Wofford has been a streaky basketball team.
Sure.
You start from last night's game against Furman, 3 straight wins and a loss. Again, this is going backwards in time. 3 wins, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, 2 wins, a loss, a win, 2 losses, 2 wins, a loss, 3 wins, a loss, 2 wins, 2 losses. Okay, that's not the entire season, but that's a big chunk of it. As opposed to Chattanooga, that lost an overtime game against Furman, a team that went to the SOCON championship game. Prior to that, Cole rattled off 12 straight wins, a loss, 3 straight wins, a loss, a win. They had a 3-game win streak earlier in the season. They had a 5-game win streak earlier in the season. I mean, I find it hard to say that Wofford is flat out, unequivocally a better basketball team than Chattanooga and stand a better chance to win an NCAA tournament game than Chattanooga. And this is why, even though I briefly brought this up earlier and I got a text from our buddy Chris Phillips laughing at me saying, oh my God, that'll never work, giving every conference 2 bids into the NCAA tournament. I know that it's unlikely. I know that it's not going to happen, but my idea is that whoever wins the regular season gets a bid, whoever wins the conference tournament gets a bid, so you get the best of both worlds, right? A team that's playing hot and a team that has a great body of work. And then if the same team does both, it opens up at-large spots. Now, if the NCAA tournament wants to expand so they can get more SEC teams in or more Big Ten teams in or more Big East teams in after that, expand all you want to. I don't care, Cole. But I want to see the best team from each conference in this tournament. And you and I both know that the best team doesn't always win the conference tournament.
The best team in the regular season doesn't always win the conference tournament. That's what I'd argue, right? That all of the things that you mentioned that happened during the regular season, it's like I said yesterday, none of that matters. Well, because the postseason success is what matters. So, look, that's the hard part. You can be the best team in the regular season, but you can be the worst team in the conference tournament. But if you're the best team in the conference tournament, you're the best team from the conference because when it all mattered at the right time, you were playing the best basketball.
Either that or you just got a good draw that works out well for you, right? I mean, look, I have always maintained that you're putting these teams, and you're putting all teams, so this is equal across the board, right? But you're putting all of these teams into a format, meaning a tournament format that you play night in and night out for 3 or 4 days. You're putting them into a situation that they haven't been in for the past 30 plus games, right? So you're taking them out of what they do best, which is playing twice a week, having time to prepare, and you're putting them into a you play every day, win and survive scenario, which takes them out of their rhythm and changes everything about these teams. So I think that you should reward both of those rather than just one of those. But I understand I'm taking a very egalitarian approach, and I also understand that adds a lot of uncertainty to the big conferences who now now you have to watch the West Coast Conference. Now you have to watch the MEAC. Now you got to watch the MAC and see if the same team wins the regular season and the conference tournament to find out if you even have an available slot to get into the NCAA tournament. And you can't have that. You can't have uncertainty for the big boys. They got all the money. They got all the marketing. They got all the stars. They got all the best coaches. They got the prettiest cheerleaders. And they got to have the certainty too. We can't have them operating without a level of certainty.
Diesel is a man of social equality is what it is. He wants everybody in. Tolo's quick update. Liberty is on top of Clemson. Number 4 Clemson right now. Liberty's Troyer homered to right field on a 3-2 pitch in the top of the second inning to take a 1-0 lead over the 4th-ranked Clemson Tigers. That game over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium in Clemson. Canarella, Listy, Creighton in the outfield. Bennett is the pitcher with Jacob Jarrell catching. Luke Gaffney, Purify, Chufo, and Pano in the infield. We'll keep you updated on that, but Clemson playing Liberty. South Carolina tomorrow will be in action. But on the other side, in the very first segment of the show today, we had a fantastic interview with Coach Mike Anderson, the head boys basketball coach at Greenville High School, after a state championship win this past weekend for the Greenville Red Raiders. We'll bring you that interview next. Well, Diesel, I am glad that I changed my pick yesterday in Asheville because, as you know, what a thriller last night in Asheville, North Carolina. Wofford takes down Furman in one of the best college basketball games I've seen in a very long time, 92-85. The Terriers take down Furman. Diesel, I know that you were running the board for the game, but what a game it was. Wofford-Furman, an instant classic, and Wofford is going dancing. Get your dancing shoes on if you're a Terrier fan in Spartanburg. What a game it was. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We have Coach Anderson, Mike Anderson, the head basketball coach at Greenville High School, joining us here in a few minutes on the show. They won the state championship this past weekend, so we'll talk to him. But, Diesel, what a game it was last night.
It was. I don't know if you could put on a better product for national television than what the Southern Conference had on court last night. Look, I mean, I've watched a handful of these conference championship games, and none of them have even approached what they had last night in Asheville, a completely packed house arena. They made sure to show it on television a handful of times. You saw top-notch basketball with two teams scoring a lot of points in regulation. What was the final score? 80-something to
92-85.
92-85. So you had a lot of points scored in that game. I guarantee you that game hit the over because there's no way that they had it scored that high. But, you saw two really good teams go on streaks throughout the game. Now,
sure.
You didn't just see two teams trading shots the entire time. You saw Wofford get out to that hot start, and then Furman came charging back. And then Furman took a little bit of a lead. And then Wofford came charging back. And then Wofford started playing really bad on offense, giving up a lot of turnovers. And Furman came charging back. And then the whole thing culminated with Wofford just being lights out from the free throw line. Plus, you got the storyline of the Wofford center who was shooting his free throws Rick Barry style,
yes,
which I guarantee you was all over social media. It was all over the Sports Center this morning. I guarantee that because they love players that just do things a little bit differently. Yeah, Kyler Felowich.
Did you see Dave Portnoy tweeted out last night?
No, I didn't.
He had a video of it, of him shooting an underhanded free throw, Diesel, and he called Wofford. W.
Well, I mean, they are the Terriers. They woof. I get it. It makes sense.
But, no, it was a great game. It was a great game, and thanks to Ingles Markets for having us up there yesterday. Jackson Silvis was phenomenal down the stretch. You mentioned it. Back and forth, Diesel. Number one, before we're joined by Coach Anderson here in a couple of minutes, number one, the atmosphere was impeccable. Hats off to Wofford fans, Diesel. Hats off to Furman fans as well. It was one of the best college basketball atmospheres that you could have had. The SOCON, I mean, every year they ought to want Furman and Wofford to be in the championship game because it was incredible. But to your point, Diesel, late in the game, Wofford was up 7. You had the call right here on your Dan Scott had the call. You were on the board for Dan and Tom. Wofford was up 7 late. And if you remember, Furman came back and actually took the lead, Diesel. After they took the lead, I thought, oh, boy, they've got the momentum. There was, 3 or 4 minutes to go in the game. And then what did Wofford do? Wofford went on a monstrous run to end the game. And I just thought, as good as Bob Ritchie is, and as much as we talk about Bob Ritchie, I thought Dwight Perry did a phenomenal job last night, and he deserves a lot of credit. By the way, Dwight Perry joining us on the show at 4:05 today. But, man, Wofford, I don't know if you remember this, Wofford turned the ball over 5 straight possessions.
Yeah.
I thought it was over.
Yeah, it seemed like Furman was taking over the momentum of that game. Here was one of my favorite calls from Dan Scott. Now, he gets a little loud towards the end of this, so just be prepared to maybe drop the audio.
All right.
But Dan Scott, play-by-play voice of the Furman Paladins, had what I think might be the most appropriate, best call you could have in a game like this. If it'll play.
Two heavyweight boxers standing in the middle of the ring, landing punch after punch on one another. Nick Anderson, deep 3, straight away, yes! He was 3 steps behind the line. He didn't care. He's got 8, 5 in this half. Paladins by 4.
That's when Furman was leading.
That's a great
Wofford
call.
made their big play to come back there. He had this fantastic call as well, Cole.
Furman 60, Wofford 58. We go under the 12-minute mark, which means a timeout is coming at the next whistle. Ed Bronson pitches to Nick Anderson on the left wing. Nick puts it on the floor. Free throw line. Got the shot off. It's good. And he's fouled.
Wow.
Fouled by Luke Flynn. And Flynn got the worst of that. He fouled him with his face. And he's going to walk away with a bloody nose.
I mean, it was a rock fight between these two teams.
It was.
Absolute rock fight.
It was a fantastic game. Hats off to the Wofford Terriers. A big, big win. Again, 92-85. We'll get back into the Wofford Furman conversation at 3:45 because what a game it was. I saw a lot of you up there last night, a lot of you Tolos. But we are joined now live on the stream, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, and anywhere on the free Odyssey app by Coach Anderson of the Greenville Red Raiders, the most recent state champions. Coach, congratulations. How are you, man?
I'm good. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, man. Congratulations on Greenville State Championship. My first question to you, Coach, is when you talk about the landscape of high school basketball, you know, there's two divisions now in certain classifications. The landscape certainly changed, but you guys able to defy the odds. And a season, I was looking back this morning, and I was really impressed by the ups and downs that you guys had. A really good season, by the way, but able to finish when it mattered most. We were just talking about Wofford Furman. Coach, talk about how much there is to be said about not only having a great regular season, but being able to play your best basketball at the right time.
Yeah, early in the season, we're still, coming along with our chemistry and, just weren't playing very well. Won some games, but probably 3 or 4 games we probably shouldn't have won. Really ugly, just didn't play well. We're not connected on either end of the floor. And, we were a talented group, so we pulled out some games. Like I said, we probably shouldn't have. And, when we played Goose Creek in our tournament up here, they were just too good for us to turn it on and off. And it was a valuable lesson for us. I mean, without losing that game to them early in the year, I don't know if we, lock in and get better like we did this season without that. So that game changed a lot for us this season.
Coach, what's it like to end a season like this that culminates in a state championship? You get to enjoy being a state champion, and that's fantastic. But is there any bit of it that's bittersweet? Because I'm sure you don't want the winning to end. You had a special group. You would like to go out there and keep winning. Well,
I mean, if you're a good team, you usually don't win your last one unless you win it all. So, this is my 13th year at Greenville and the first time that we've ever won our last game. So that changes a lot because usually you're upset when the season ends. And, this has been different. It's been a ride. The whole city's been buzzing. The school's been electric this week. I mean, just the crowd that showed up for us. And, Goose Creek missed some free throws down the stretch. And I really think that, our crowd and our student section had something to do with that. So it's been special. It's been fun. Still can't believe it's true. We've talked about this and been so close for so long. So we're just enjoying the ride, and these kids deserve all the credit. They're a special group of young men for sure.
We're joined by Coach Mike Anderson, the head basketball coach at Greenville High School. Coach, it's a funny story. I was covering South Carolina women, and I was at the Bon Secure on Sunday before the championship game, and I was talking to a resource officer or a Greenville City officer who I didn't know at the time is the resource officer for you guys at Greenville High School, and he was at the game the night before, and he was excited. To your point about there being a lot of buzz, man, there was a lot of buzz, and it's awesome. Franklin Whitley, 25 points, 14 rebounds. Caden Coleman scored 21 points in the championship. Roman Cooley had 13. Coach, talk about the team effort and for those that don't know and follow Greenville basketball, those that really made this night possible, not only this night, but y'all's success all season long.
Yeah, so those 3 guys you just mentioned, and then also Tucker Scholl, He's number 10 for us. He was in double digits as well. So we've got 4 guys that average double digits, anywhere between, 10 and 13, 14 points. And it just makes it tough for teams to defend us, because if you try to take away A and B, then we've got C and D. If you try to take away B and D, then we've got A and C. We've got multiple weapons. Those 4 guys will all play college basketball. Roman's the only senior, so got a good group coming back next year. So it's been a blessing. We've got, obviously other guys as well that played their role. Nehemiah Tompkins was kind of our defensive stopper. Not really the role he wanted early in the season, but as the year grew and he continued to progress, that's the role he embraced and the role that this team needed. He can score as well. I mean, he's going to probably play college basketball somewhere as well. And then we've got Israel Deaver. It was funny. The announcers were coming up with all kinds of nicknames for him the other day. And, just reflecting on that game afterwards, because we should have fouled. We talked about fouling, before regulation ended. I won't say who it was, but he didn't foul and said he forgot. And, but reflecting later, Izzy had his moment in overtime and hit that big 3. So had we won it in regulation, then he wouldn't have had his moment that he deserved. Israel has just been the ultimate team guy and, has sacrificed a lot of his own personal, goals and stuff for the good of the team. He's been our 6th man and just an outstanding young man. And, so happy for him and all the guys.
State champion winning head coach Mike Anderson of Greenville High School, 28-2 on the season. You really can't call it a season of ups and downs when you only had 2 losses on the year. But, all coaches can look back at moments when your team pulled out of a hole or overcame some adversity. What moments come to mind for you and for your team this season that you can point back to and say that was kind of a turning point, or that was a moment where we really took things to a next level?
I think the first one was when we went up to Oak Hill and played. We really played out of our mind the first half, and we were down 4 at halftime. And I think then the guys just saw how good we could be. Like I said, some of those earlier games, we just weren't playing as hard as I felt like we could. We weren't as connected on defense. And, you go play at Oak Hill, you better be ready or you're going to get embarrassed. So the guys were really locked in. Now, mistake on my part is didn't realize we were going to be at such altitude. And I think they got in a little trouble at halftime. Oak Hill, Coach Stoneman, he's a good friend of mine. And they put it on us a little bit the second half, and we kind of ran out of gas. But just a great experience. So I think that was the first thing. And then going back to what I said earlier about that Goose Creek game when they came up for our tournament, I think that was just a awakening for our guys that, hey, against the good teams, you can't just turn it on and off. And from that point on, we just got way more consistent on both ends of the floor and started playing a lot better basketball.
Coach, talk about the way that game ended. Goose Creek made a buzzer-beating three-pointer to force the first overtime. You guys had led by as many as 5, I believe, within that last final or that final minute of regulation. And then you talked about the buzzer beater a minute ago from your team. Can you recall a game that you've been in like that was just so wild and so climatic?
No, it was crazy. I mean, I've had so many people from all over reach out and just say they thought that was the game of the year in our state, regardless of boys, girls, or regardless of classification. I mean, it was just that good of a high school basketball game. And, it's unfortunate that somebody had to lose that. It's just a great, great game, a great atmosphere. The people in Florence were great to us, high school league folks and staff and all that. It was really good. So special moment for our kids. We're just glad we could squeeze it out and eke it out. And, it was just meant to be. I just really think it was just meant to be for us.
Coach, how did you and your team celebrate immediately after the game, the next couple of days after the game? How did you decompress and really just enjoy it and soak it in?
So when we went down there on Wednesday after the game with Fort Mill, and that was another one that came down to the wire, and we didn't even lead that game at all until the last 14 seconds. We took our first lead of the game, was the last basket that we scored. So we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, So when we came back, we tried to do everything the same that we did on Wednesday, stayed at the same hotel, did all the same things. So,
what was the flavor of wings you ate, Coach?
I had buffalo and lemon pepper.
There you go.
It's probably smart not to eat atomic wings right before a big game,
No. Well, this was all afterwards. So after the game, the Goose Creek game, we went back there. A lot of the parents and, some of the fans and stuff, they came as well. So we kind of overtook that place for a couple hours and let the kids get some food and decompress. Awesome. And had some of the parents just was like, Coach, you look like one of the kids over there. And I was on my phone. I was just on my phone because, I had over 250 texts, people calling left and right. And I was just trying to at least everything and get back to everyone. And for a solid hour and a half, that's all I was doing, was trying to respond to everybody that was reaching out, which was really cool. People that I haven't talked to in a long time. I had people that I coached 25 years ago at Walhalla and kids from JL Man when I used to be over there that were just all invested in this group. And, that was really special.
Coach, you talked about the buzz with you guys winning a state championship. And you're exactly right. In fact, a couple of people told me have told me in the last few days that not only is it special for you guys to win it, but because of what happened with your athletic director not too long ago, this one seemed a little more special. Can you go into that?
Yeah, Scully was just a great guy, a big mentor to me, and I just know he was with us this whole playoff run, and that's one of the reasons earlier I said it was just meant to be. We had some crucial mistakes here or there, and it's just like he helped us overcome. I talked to some people about the Goose Creek game and just said, I could just hear Skilly saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm trying to help you, and you're trying to mess it up." And I could just hear him laughing. He had this just special, unique laugh, and it just lit up the room. So. It's been a whirlwind. Obviously, for me, it was special to win it for him and kind of in his honor and memory, and all that he did to reach out to our community. And he poured into a lot of people, not just me, but a ton of our coaches and former baseball players, and he was one of a kind.
Coach Mike Anderson, Greenville boys basketball state championship winning coach. Congratulations on your success. You well-deserved time off this summer. I don't know how you're going to spend it, but I know you're probably going to be thinking about basketball and how to get back there and possibly win another one. But congratulations to you and to your team and to the families of all those players. I just wish you the absolute best.
Thanks, Coach.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Really good stuff there, man. I appreciate Coach Anderson for hopping on with us. And what a time, man. He's exactly right, Diesel, for the boys team at Greenville High School to be able to go capture that. They were really good this year. They were so good. Great players, and every good coach will tell you that championships don't happen, right, without those good players. So really appreciate Coach Anderson for hopping on with us because high school basketball means a lot to a lot of people here. And in the upstate for Greenville, he mentioned the places he's been, Walhalla, JL Man. Congratulations to all of those as well that weren't mentioned by name as well, Diesel.
Yeah, just a fantastic thing to bring it back here to Greenville. And like you said, he's bringing back almost all of his talent next year. And we'll see if Greenville can turn itself into a little bit of a basketball dynasty. It feels like, Cole, the high school in the biggest city in the upstate should be the elite basketball program of the state. Let's see if that's what they can become next year, obviously having a lot of talent coming back. When we come back, it's happening, Cole. Remember how I've occasionally talked about pundits around the NFL and the draft trying to will things into existence? Well, it's happening. One guy thinks the Carolina Panthers should do a deal with the devil and trade out of the number 8 spot, but you'll never guess who he thinks they should do that trade with. That conversation coming your way next. Bad timing to have to cough right as you turn the mic back on.
It happens.
Cole, some cool local interest events to put out there for the Tolos just before we close out the show today. Greenville Drive going to be hosting a free doubleheader featuring some of South Carolina's top high school baseball teams coming up on Saturday, March 15th. 2 games, Wren versus Palmetto at 1 o'clock and Powdersville versus River Bluff at 4 o'clock. It's all part of the Greenville Drive's 20th anniversary Fan Fest presented by TD Synex. Any chance you're going to be headed down to Floor Field to watch Wren, Palmetto, Powdersville, and River Bluff go at each other?
Probably not, but I will say it would be nice. We love those at the Greenville Drive, but you know what? If they're listening, it'd be nice if, every now and then they thought to themselves, look, we have this sports radio station in town. Maybe we should be more involved and do some things with the sports radio station in town, like community things. But we love the drive. We just, we would love to do more. That's all.
Yeah.
My opinion. Sorry. I'll speak for me.
Tomorrow, Cole, this is big. I know you probably aren't that into it because you're not into soccer at all. But the brand new stadium for the Greenville Triumph will have its official groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. That is neat. And that's here in Greenville, Malden, right?
Yep. Ronaldinho is Ronald. He's a former Brazilian soccer star, widely considered one of the best in the world while he was in his prime. Ronaldinho is going to be there on site for the event. I don't know if he's somehow affiliated with the team, if he's a part owner of the team, or how exactly he got tied into being there for the groundbreaking ceremony, but he will be. So if you're a soccer fan, if you're a footy, you'll know exactly who Ronaldinho is, and he's going to be there. So you may want to go over there tomorrow and check out that event. And finally, Cole, this one, kind of hard to find a whole lot of information on what exactly it's for, but Brunch and Bits, which is an event with the
Brunch and what?
Bits.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, if it was something else, sign me up. Brunch and Bits by Hall's Chop House is an event for hockey, brunch, and mimosas. Only one of those things does Cole Bryson actually like. Which one, though? Hockey, brunch, or mimosas?
Brunch.
Brunch is you don't like mimosas? Champagne and orange juice, delicious.
Look, but you know what's great? I really don't eat brunch. Do people eat brunch? I guess it's just I don't know.
You get a $25 center ice ticket and 1 free mimosa for being at this event. So, I think it's just a good excuse to get the ladies. Halls.
Is that what it is? Trying to get the ladies there? I mean, that's a lady drink, right? Mimosas?
Mimosas are great. I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, whoa. You drink vodka and Red Bull.
You don't, the frou-frou drinks? Is that what you call them?
Even Sienna from Ingalls was making fun of you yesterday.
I don't believe anything Sienna says. Sienna, no. That's.
She says, Cole, you need to step it up and drink a man's drink.
I don't do it. Don't do it. Tolo's a lot of fun today. We will see you tomorrow. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com joins us. Be there or be lame.